Hey, hi everyone. Welcome to another Saturday. I'm just going to get comfy in my chair here. Hope you guys are getting comfy in your chair or riding your bike or wherever you are. One guy said, I think it was Keith, he was saying he was riding his bike. Don't have a crash, man. Don't have a crash. Nice to see all of you here. It's only a very boutique show so far today. But I got myself a coffee. I just made this. I'm pretty proud of that actually. Look at the little cappuccino. It's a massive cup, isn't it? I'll show you a top view of my coffee because I'm so proud of my coffee that I'm sure you guys want to see the top view of my coffee there. Look at that. Hey, isn't that a beautiful thing? Little chocolate sprinkles on the top. Yes, this is another edition of Ranzee's cooking show. No, sorry about last week. Too much going on, family stuff. It's actually really hard this time of the year for me to even punch out a show on Saturdays. As it stands, this weekend is, well, today I had netball final with my daughter and another one, and because she won the last one, so she went through to the next one. Tomorrow is a birthday party for my son, so it's all like birthday season, end of sports seasons. It's just all happening all at once. But I managed to punch out a show today, so isn't that great? Hopefully you guys appreciate it. What we're going to do today is we're going to talk about synthesizer education, and we won't do that straight away. So if you've just joined and you're thinking, yes, let's get our hands dirty with synthesizer, we won't do that until we've got some guests arriving. At the moment there are 0 guests here. We do have 4 guests, so there'll be 5 of us a bit later on in the show. It won't be long. They, as you can see here, it's completely just me for the moment. They will turn up, I'm sure. They won't be far. But in the meantime, I thought maybe just as a bit of a completely weird, not specific topic thing, whilst I had my coffee, I'm going to talk a little bit about this flanger pedal of mine because it's doing my head in. And I thought, yeah, I'll talk to you guys about it because Nigel, no friends here. No. Okay, so let's go down to here, and I'll kind of, you don't need to see my ugly head. I'll talk about it because it's a weird thing, this flanger pedal. This is the MXR flanger. Now you can see there's 2 of them. One of them is in bits and the other one is here. Now I actually thought the other day, and I think I told a few of you guys that I buggered it up, this one here. And I literally thought it was dead. So I turned it off what did I do with it? Turned it off and let it sort of cool down and unplugged it and, you know, all those kind of weird things that you do. And I was literally going to take this thing apart to see maybe I'd blown some, I don't know, fuse or capacitor or something in there. And I don't know. It was weird. But I turned it on just before the show and working fine. I mean, it's, I don't know if it's working 100% fine, but it's definitely biting. There's definitely something going on there. Let's see if we can get it to bite a bit more. So I actually think it's probably okay. I don't know. If anyone has any knowledge about these MXR pedals and they think they know better than me, because I have no idea what I'm doing here, sing out in the chat, because yeah. Now I'm going to be drinking my coffee because I don't want it to go cold. Now the other thing I've got is, as I've shown you here, I've got this one. This is just the shell. I got this one apart, and I thought we'd head over. Well, for me, it's that way down, and I got the little the microscope camera turned on. Whee! There's my fingers floating in front of it. It's literally just down here in front of me. So here's the actual electronics of this pedal. Now I have had this under this thing before. Now, that black thing that you can see there, that is the DC connector. That's where you put your, you know, your DC power in. And you can see here, somewhere around here that it's got nasty and hot. I don't know if it's here. It's not showing. It's around here anyway. So it actually might just be there. Yeah, there it is. You can see just there. So you see how that's all discolored just there? Just the wrong way. Just there. That's all just colored just around there. That's all nasty and dark, right? I think I've probably burnt out a couple of, I don't know, there's resistors there, there's caps there. I don't even know what the hell, that may have even just vaporized that thing. Where am I? Come this way a bit. There, is that what's supposed to be there? Is that something supposed to be there? That may have just completely vaporized. Not sure, but anyway, I think there's something definitely wrong with that pedal, because all it does is just pass audio through now. So it's, yeah, I don't know. It's boogered. It's boogered mud. But yeah, this one seems to be working. Ooh, geez, that's a good sounding pedal. I mean, I've got delay as well. It's magneto, by the way. If you're wondering what the delay is, it's eurorack stuff going on here. The only thing that's not eurorack is the MXR flanger. Now, that's the other question I had for you guys. Is there a pedal that does the, sorry, is there a pedal? Is there a eurorack module that does the MXR flanger? Now, this one is kind of different to the standard one. This is kind of, I think it's a 117 or something like that. I don't know, it's written somewhere here. Doesn't say it, does it? I don't know. 117R. Does it say it on here? I don't think it even says it on here. Why do they not label their products? Anyway, it's not the standard model doesn't have as many controls as this. It usually only has, I think, 1 or 2 controls on it. So yeah, 117R. Yep. Okay, let's bring you guys in. Hey. Let's say hello to the chatties. Now, I need to read what you said because I wasn't even watching. Is the audio coming through okay? I guess it is because you guys are listening to me. You're answering my questions. Everyone's saying hi to each other. I'm just scrolling down. You got yours. Cool. Nice. So Wigoo's got the same pedal. So hopefully yours is working okay. Yes, not 100% dead. But I really don't know if it is 100% okay though, because I kind of thought it had more bite to it before, but maybe that's just the sound that I've got thrown. Usually it likes to have a bit more of a gritty, guitar-y type sound. It is a guitar pedal after all. Anyway, I would like to know if there is actually a eurorack module that does the same thing. And you guys have probably already answered that question. Let me see. Oh, Stephen Frey, great on you for the €4.99. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Hello, Ranzee, he says. And hello to you, Stephen. Nice of you to drop in and give us a little love like that. It's awesome. So let's say hello to you guys. Tip Top does a module with chorus and flanging. Yeah, but I don't know if... See, this pedal is analog. And this has got a Bucket Brigade delay in it, and that's the famous... I don't know if you guys know, but this is the famous kind of Giorgio Moroder, you know, the Chase track flanger pedal that he used in that. That's where it comes from. Yes, I've got them on 18 volts. Woohoo. Anyway, let's say hello to all the chatties, starting with... I'd say Keith in Watford was officially the first person. So good on you, Keith. He's one of our channel members, so big shout out to Keith. Then we had Future World Machines, is also another one of our channel members. Big hello to you. Wigoo came in next. Hello, Wigoo. Then we had Merbert, Stephen Powell, Martin Taylor. Big hello to you guys. Kosh Dukai. Big hello to Kosh. Azio Head, big hello to you, mate. Nice to see all of you. Now, let's scroll down. Who else have we got? I saw Makeshifter. Yep, big hello to you, buddy. And I'm pretty sure I saw Pro Synth Network come in, which I think is actually Robbie Puricelli under Failed Muso. So I think he's just changed it over. So big hello to you, Robbie. Thanks for being part of this show, mate. We've got Kev Human there, and it's starting to grow. We're getting some people in. It's starting to grow. Dr. Synth Manny's there. Big hello to you. Marcus Fuller. G'day, Marcus. Nice to see you, mate. Roy's there. Who else? Sim. Big hello to Sim. Path Lake. Big hello to you. And Native VS has just dropped in. So it's awesome to have you. It's growing. It's growing. I think that do you guys get the YouTube notifications? Like, I just don't know if it's working anymore. I wouldn't be surprised if Google starts asking us to pay them. A bit like putting a Facebook post up these days. No one sees it. Facebook show it to 3 people. What's the point? It's no point anymore. You might as well just stand out your front door and shout. You probably get as much people listening to you. It's useless, that stuff. Big hello to Mark Zuckerberg there for, I know you're rich, mate, but you don't need to be that rich. Anyway, yeah, so the weirdness of pedals, hey? The weirdness of pedals. And I don't know, I was hoping Kent was on, he could troubleshoot it for us live on the show. No, you wouldn't. I don't know if you'd be able to do that. I need to get this thing looked at a little bit more sort of closely. I'm pretty sure one of the tracks on one of the circuit tracks lifted somewhere. Yeah, it could be around here somewhere. I know this is boring for some of you guys, but sometimes this is the sort of stuff you got to do. If you're on a budget and you can't afford to get things fixed, you know, these sort of things aren't that rocket sciencey. But anyway, I will definitely have a bit of fun with this, and I don't know, I kind of feel like it's not dead yet. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. Anyway, hopefully you guys have been getting some tunes out during the last couple of weeks. I know it's been a couple of weeks since I've had all you guys around. If you are new, sing out. If you're watching this, say, hey, I'm new here. I'm a noob. Nothing wrong with being a noob in this channel because we're all welcome here. I kind of feel like my audio is distorting, and I don't know if it's just my end that I can hear or if it's actually really distorting. And I just don't really like that. I'm sure you guys don't like it either. Audio mic in. What's going on with this? It's definitely not distorting here. There's no gain. There's no plugins. I don't know. Doesn't sound distorted. Okay, so it's probably just something stupid at my end that I'm hearing. Let me just check to see if I've got the gain turned up too much or something. This is it here. It's on 30 dB. Okay, the pre's on 30 dB. It's not like, it's not even 11. No, it's not. It's about half. All right, cool. All right, so I've had nothing come into the studio new, but there is a few things that I've got to get going in here, and we'll talk about them during the show. Number one is there was a new firmware update that came out during the week for the Argon 8. Those of you guys who have an Argon 8, put your hand up in the chat because I know there's a few of you. And if you didn't know, there's a firmware update out for it by Modal Electronics. And they only just announced it, I think it was either yesterday or the day before. And I haven't even gotten close to looking at it yet. I did version 3, I think it is. I think it's version 3 if you're wondering. I'm going to link you guys in the chat now to the website where you can check it out. But don't go check it out now. Just chuck it in your bookmark or something. Check that out later. Because what can we say about it? What can we say about it indeed? Let's see if I can bring the page up for you guys and show you. I'm not going to be doing a firmware update like I did last time. Because it was a bit of a train wreck doing that, and I hadn't had any idea what the firmware update did, but we can show the web page at least. So there's the version 3 firmware. It's been very well written by marketing people. I don't know if I would agree that it's the most comprehensive firmware update ever. I've definitely seen better firmware updates. But hats off to them for doing firmware updates because, you know, they don't have to, and I think it really just embellishes the brand and the type of people that work at Modal because, you know, some companies charge for things like this, you know, especially software companies. Anyway, brand new vintage parameter allows you to alter the organic fabric of the wavetable texture by emulating a behavior of vintage synths. I guess it's tuning. So there's also a thing called oscillator free run, which is a new feature for analog synths. What else? 4 new filter types, 4-pole, here we go, I'm just reading from here. 4-pole ladder filter, 1-pole hybrid ladder, a resonant phaser ladder filter. Ooh, geez, now we're talking my language. And 2 new pole Salon key filters. Wow. Now that is something cool. We definitely need to be checking that out. Also, they come with pre-filter drive. So you've got some sort of overdriving. Wow. Put a bit of bite into the filter. That's not a bad idea. It's kind of like what the Base Station 2 does. Integrated pole sweeping allows seamless morphing through audio spectrum. Yeah, cool. Now, there is more effects. This is what I was reading before. They've got version 2s of all their effects. Version 2 reverb, version 2 chorus, version 2 phaser, and new compressor, new 3-band EQ, new unionizer. I don't know what the hell that is. Someone might be able to tell me that. And an additional drive effects. Plus, also there's 100 new factory presets. I guess those factory presets would probably take us through some of those new features. And there's a new thing called ARP directions, which is part of the arpeggiator. Programmable ARP directions. I'm not really sure what that is. But anyway, yeah, check that out. Check that out, that's for sure. Check it out. Future World Machines says he's got an Argon 8. Wagyu, I know he's got one, definitely. Yeah. To me, look, to me the Argon 8 is the kind of almost like the epitome of digital. Yeah, you can warm it up if you put it through some, outboard analog gear. But inside it does kind of have some warmth in it as well. But it is the epitome of digital, I think. And that's a good thing, because I like that kind of all wavetable-y sort of digital stuff. It just really, it's something that you sometimes want in a track. You want that sort of sound. I think it does it really, really well. It's probably one of the most value for money wavetable synths on the market, I would say. Definitely cheap. It's not built like, it's not built strong or anything like that. It's definitely built to a budget, but hey, just get the module. You can rack mount them. They actually come with the rack ears for 19-inch rack, which I think is pretty brilliant. How many people sell rack mountable modules, but they don't give you the rack ears? They sell that separately to try and make an extra buck. And then they, after about 5 years, they stop selling it, and then they don't sell the rack ears anymore, and you can't get them. You've got to make your own. I'm talking to you, Moog. You guys remember the Slim Fatty? Yes. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a Cobalt 8 update soon. I don't know though. For those who have got the Cobalt 8, they may add some of those effects in there at least, and the ARP thing. That would probably be my guess. Yeah. But it looks like they brought some of the effects from the Cobalt 8 into the Argon 8. I don't know. So maybe, I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. We are going to be talking more about modal electronics a bit later, so we won't go there just yet. That's in the news section, so you guys pretty much know what that's going to be about. But we'll definitely give it a different sort of a viewpoint when we get into the news. Yeah, Novation Peak should definitely have had rack ears. They had, what did they had? That little removable wooden thing on the wooden sides with the magnets. That was kind of weird. Did anyone else's magnets fall off? Like the glue was just really bad? Did you have to glue your magnets back on your Novation Peak? I did. Everyone's looking for rack ears. Yeah, definitely. By the way, I'm enjoying my coffee, but the spoon is getting in the way. King Charles has great ears. Well, you could borrow his, but I kind of feel that might be a bit big for your rack. You won't have any room in your rack after putting his ears in there. Yes, it's weird saying King Charles, isn't it? Hey? Don't you think it's weird? Who thinks it's weird? I don't know. It's a bizarre week this week, isn't it? It's a really, really bizarre week. Hey, Max saying g'day from Chiang Mai. G'day. G'day. Geez, it's been a while since I've been there. That's Thailand, isn't it, Chiang Mai? Where's Chiang Mai? Is it north, west? I can't remember where it is. I'm pretty sure I've been there, Chiang Mai. You go from Bangkok and I'm pretty sure you go north somewhere. It's a long time ago when I went in that part of the world. Mac will tell us where it is when he... I'm surprised he's got northwest. There you go. I was right. Yeah. Okay. Right. So we are waiting on people to come in. Now I know Darren is on his way in because I just saw him release a message on Bandcamp. He's probably doing that because he wants to tell people on the show what that is. So if those who have subscribed to Darren's Bandcamp channel probably would have just got a message from him. Is he in chat yet? I can't see. I reckon he is. I reckon he's lurking. And we've got, okay, so who have we got coming on today? We have got, we'll go to here. We've got Darren, hopefully Andy Brooks. I haven't heard from him, but hopefully he's back. And Andy Synth Addict should be here, hopefully, if he's not fallen asleep. And we've also got Ian Cole, who's coming on as well. So you guys remember Ian from 2 weeks ago. So that'll be good. That will be good. I'm just waiting for them to come in. Anyway, we can play with some more. I love my fart sounds on my Eurorack. If you guys are wondering what's making the sound, it's the 2500 modules, right? And all I've got is two oscillators. I've got this little LFO modulating the filter, as you can hear. That flange is starting to sound better. That's the flanger sound you're getting. Let's change the wave shape of that. Andy's here. Cool. Which camera is that one? It's that one. Here we go. That'll give it a bit more bite now, won't it? I'm having fun. You guys are probably thinking, oh my God, this is just so bad. That's more of a square wave there, isn't it? That really bites into the flange now, doesn't it? All right, Mr. Brooksy. How are you, champ?
Hello. Is this working?
It is.
Is it this one?
Yeah, it's that one.
Wow, blimey. I'll give that a nudge. But looks wrong. That's sort of. There you go, that'll do. Yeah, right. Yeah. Hi.
Long time no see. What have you been up to?
It's been a while. It's been a while. Actually, what have I been up to? Can't remember. I've not done anything. I'm back at work now, so I've had a full week back at work. I can't. Do you know what's going on? I've not done anything for ages, to be honest. So this week, however, there's an EMOM and an electronic music open mic in Derby. That's another of Jim's. And then there's another one at the end of September, 30th of September. Jamie's doing another one in Blackpool. Booked me hotel room in Blackpool, so I'm going over to do that one. Yeah, so I've not actually done anything specifically since we were last on. That's a bit boring. Darren's obviously been busy because, like you said, I heard you mention about the Bandcamp announcements. Yeah, that just landed.
Yep.
From Darren, so that's another thing to enjoy. Yeah, cool. Oh,
Right.
actually, I heard you mentioning something about notifications and YouTube notifications.
Yeah,
Like you, I don't think they're working very
I
well
don't reckon
at
they're
all.
working either. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're crap.
I get them. I've had some which have come a day late. I've some which have come halfway through a stream which I'm already watching, and yeah, I think it's all got a bit pear shaped, those YouTube notifications. So don't know what's going on with that. Yeah, hey everyone, are we all right?
Oh, I don't want to sign into YouTube, stupid bloody web browser crap. Ian's rocked up, so we probably should say hello to Ian as well, and check his mic out. Hello, Ian.
Good afternoon. How are we doing? Can you hear me?
We can hear you. That's always a start.
Hey, good stuff. Exactly. Thank God for that. So, yeah, how's it? How are you? Hi, Andy.
I was saying before, I'm kind of weird. Like, it's been a weird week. It's been a friggin' weird week, and I really don't know how to feel. I mean, it's kind of like we knew it was going to happen, didn't we? We all knew it was going to happen. It was just a matter of when. But like, none of us really know how to feel when it does happen. Does that make sense?
No.
We kind of. I know there's people that don't give a toss about this, and I don't care. I think what you got to look at is she's a human being, and she did a hell of a lot for the world. And I think she deserves a bit of respect and a bit of, a bit of nicety before all these friggin' lefties get stuck into her.
Yeah.
So
I mean, sorry, go on,
sorry.
Go, Andy.
I was just going to say I'm not a royalist. I am an anti-royalist, but I'm actually very saddened by her death. And I watched King Charles's speech about his mum the other night, and I thought it was really touching. So I mean, on a human level, they're a family like everybody else.
I have to agree with that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the same as me, Ian. The way I look at it, it's if your grandma died or if your mum died, or you wouldn't want people taking the P155. You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't be in good taste. So from that level, I kind of feel let's give her some love and some respect, and mourn her passing. But the other crap, that they can handle all that. I'm not interested in all the other the monarch stuff.
That crap is going to come. Those people will want to, say their things. I've already seen one or two bits, and I try not to get cross about it, because it's one of those things they're expressing what I think is a tasteless view. I'm a bit like Ian. I'm no ardent monarchist, although I have to say I have held, Queen Elizabeth in very high regard. You think what she has done and how long she's been doing it for. It's unlike the rest of us. She hasn't had a free life. She might have had a privileged life. No. She might have had the best of everything, but she hasn't had any freedom of her own. You've got to understand that. And now, and this is something else which no one has actually really said an awful lot about. King Charles III, yes, he's 74 years old. I mean, you imagine being given a job like that when you're most people have been retired 14 years, perhaps even longer, and he's now got to do that. I mean, I feel sorry.
He's been waiting.
In my own mind, I think,
hasn't he? He's been waiting in the unemployment line for a long time.
To be honest, he's probably been happy to wait.
Yeah.
I don't think he's been sitting there going, "Come on, come on, come on."
Yeah.
I really don't. I think he genuinely means it. He's been dreading it. I really do believe that he's actually really not been wanting this to happen at all, and now it is. I have a feeling. I know it'll cause constitutional crisis and this and that, but I think he'll probably do the job for a few years and then willingly pass the crown. That he'll abdicate, or he'll nominate perhaps him as a co-regent. I think that's a possibility.
Could be co-regent.
To lots of people, it'll make no difference whatsoever, and for most people in their day-to-day lives, it'll make no difference. Yet for us, all sorts of things are going to be very subtly different. Like the stamps are going to be different.
Yep.
The coins are all going to be different.
Notes.
The banknotes. Every time you get a banknote, it's going to be a different face on it. It'll be
your national anthem will have to change.
Well, it'll
apparently that takes quite a while though.
Yeah, change back exactly. Yeah,
it will do. It'll be a while before the currency comes through.
It took till 1960. God, I got this from Jane today. who is a royalist and obviously watching all the stuff upstairs. She was saying that it was 1960 before we had any coinage with the Queen's head on it. So it'll take a while, you know.
I think they're already there, though. I think they're already ready with them. I think
the Australians, the Australian mints have already started. They've already got the die ready and everything. Yep. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get them in the next year.
Yeah, Charles has said he didn't want them to do it just for the sake of it. It was to do it when they were replacing stuff rather than anything else.
And they do stay in circulation for a long time. I mean, I remember when I was at school, there were still coins, the old shilling and 2 shilling pieces, which are used as 5 pences and 10 pences, which still had the old king's head on them. You know, which had George VI head on them. They were still.
Yeah, I got a couple of King George
in the 1970s.
Yep, I got a few sitting around.
But it's a change. What a strange, a new prime minister and a new monarch. I mean, I just wondered if Boris Johnson was thinking, oh God, honestly, I could have been in the. I mean, he was there this morning for the, you know, for the order, not the Order of the Guards. What was it? The Privy Council meeting and the Declaration of
swearing
Ascension,
in, wasn't it?
Whatever they call it. The basically swearing. He was there for that, but Liz Truss was there in the limelight, wasn't she? Cool. Well, it was funny that I sat and watched that. I mean, I find these things. I do it in two minds because part of me just thinks, why are we doing all this? And part of me is going, this is a momentous historic occasion I am watching here right now. This is an historic event, and I am going to bloody well sit and watch it. I sat through the church service last night from St Paul's Cathedral, which is actually very lovely. You know, my choice. Other people don't have to do that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, I'm sort of torn to some extent with this stuff because actually, when I was at the university, we used to have that sort of a bit of pomp and ceremony every so often, every year. You know, like graduation ceremonies where I put my gown on and my hat and all that. I used to like all that sort of stuff, actually. You know. But I'm certainly, like you say, not a royalist. So, you know, and there will be people out there saying,
"Are you Dr. Cole?"
No, I'm not a doctor. No, I never did my PhD. All right. But there will be people out there saying we've got.
How far did you go, Ian? How far did you go?
I had 2 masters.
Yeah.
Which I hoped was going to be a PhD. No, I did a first master's in education back in early 2000s. So that was a bit using software for education. And then I did a master's purely for fun, although I can't quite say it was fun, in music technology in about 2010.
Right.
And then stopped really at that point. Although I had an idea about doing a PhD 10, 15 years ago. I never got around to it. You know.
I started doing mine, but I pulled out. Right, no, this is a while ago. I pulled out pretty soon. Like I think I got about maybe a year into it, a year worth of research into it. I won't bore you guys to death. It was to do with IT stuff. So, and what I found is that I kind of felt like I was kind of manipulated, not in a bad way, but I was kind of manipulated through the education system into it because I really did enjoy teaching, and they, you know, the universities definitely loved me. I used to be a lecturer, by the way, so I used to teach programming and the, you know, the sort of computer sciencey type things, and so I kind of felt, well, the next step would be to get a PhD. So, you know, because then you can be a professor and all that sort of stuff. But then I quickly worked out that this was a very narrow career path in IT. Like it was actually very specialist, and you're doing, you know, you're doing a Doctor of Philosophy, which is kind of really weird because you're doing quantitative research, right? You're not doing qualitative research, which usually philosophical stuff is, right? But then you're contemplating a navel over that sort of quantitative research, and all of my university has all been science-based. So I didn't do an IT degree, I did a computer science degree, which is actually a science degree, so it's all science-based. So everything's all, you know, methodology, thesis, those sort of, you know, ideas, and then you do quantitative-based procedural stuff, and it's all, you know, typical sort of computer stuff is like that, and so is science as well. So that's where I kind of got stuck. I got about a year into it, and I went, I need to pull out, and in a good way.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I had a situation where as I was changing jobs, and really what I had to say was that I went for a job interview. This is actually only over at Leeds, and I didn't get the job because I only had a master's, and the guy that got the job had a PhD. So to move further up the chain in higher education, you really do need to have you either need to be on about to start a PhD program, which I was quite willing to do had I got been offered the job, or you need to already have one. So from a career point of view, you can't really stop at masters.
Yeah. I don't know what you guys do. When I did my degree, my undergrad, because I got quite a high GPA, they offered me this thing called honours. And I don't know if you guys have that in the UK. So basically, honours is a fast track to a PhD. So it's the equivalent of a master's. So when you actually only do a year, as opposed to masters is like usually 18 months or 2 years or something.
They've got something similar here. My son did a 4-year program, which for the first 3 years was a master. It was a degree, and he could drop out at that point. But if he stayed on for the extra year, he ended up with a master's, rather than doing what I did, which was I did a I'm a non-traditional student, so I left school at 14, got a job, didn't want to go back to education until much later. I did my first degree, which was in computing, with the Open University on an evening and weekends. And I ended up sort of doing both masters were part-time as well, over 2 years, each one. So, you can get a sort of fast track to some extent, And that was he did it in mechanical engineering, so it was science based,
Yeah, see, engineering, we kind of cross paths quite a lot with computer science, because we do engineering subjects as well. Like software engineering is actually an engineering subject, and it's like paperwork engineering, not designs and circuits and things like that. But yeah, I should mention that Darren is snuck in, and so has Andy. Synth Addict has snuck in as well. Big hello to you guys. Probably should quickly go to Andy first, because I think he was first. Check his audio working and everything. Hello, Andy.
Yep. How's it going? Does that sound okay?
Yeah, it's perfect, mate. Good stuff. How you been? You good?
You sound like Barry White. Love.
Yeah, I picked up. Hold on, I got an echo on this dumb laptop. I picked up a dumb flu at the Chic Duran Duran show this weekend. So.
Yes.
So it's it's definitely not COVID, but it's definitely not good.
Okay.
So
how was the show?
Yeah, that's the pertinent question. I mean, obviously we wish you well.
1 second, I got a headphone problem there.
All right, we'll come back to you.
That's better now.
We'll come back. We'll ask you about the show.
No,
later.
it's working now.
Oh, it's working now?
It's working now.
Oops, wrong button. There we are. Where are you? There.
Sorry. No, it was a great show. Unfortunately, I had some car trouble, so I got there a little bit late. But I caught at least a piece of Chic. I talked to Rich afterward about his rig, because it's hard to keep track of who's doing what. There's so much going on stage. And he's definitely quite the busy bee, based on what he told me. Because there are 2 keyboard players, but he's doing like a ton of stuff. And there's another guy playing the piano parts and some other bits. So it's interesting stuff.
He's got the Roland. What is it? I keep forgetting what the model is that he's got.
RD700X and RD800 something.
Yeah, 800 is what the new one, wasn't it, that you got a couple of years ago?
He has one of each, yeah.
Yeah. And he swears by them.
And then, of course, Duran Duran was amazing, too. So.
Yeah. And how was Duran Duran? Did they have the System 8s or the Jupiter 8s? Which was always
Nick
interesting.
Rhodes loves his JDXAs. He has 4 JDXAs and a bunch of augmenting boxes around it. I always bring binoculars to shows, but I couldn't see the details of the boxes on top of the JDXAs. But he definitely had 3 JDXAs. 4 JDXAs, sorry.
Okay.
That's really interesting, isn't it? Because they're not some of the most highly thought of machines, those. They're a bit quirky. People think, a bit fun.
Well, he's got his analog parts and he's got his digital parts, and the supernatural sounds are really good on it. So, I mean, Wagyu can attest to that.
Yeah.
That is true. We should also say hello to Darren. G'day, mate.
Good day. Can you hear me?
We can.
We can, yeah. Hello, Darren.
That's good. Fantastic. Hello, everybody.
Hi,
Are
Darren.
we all good? Hello.
We are very good.
So
Thank you very much.
I've just got my iPad, so I can see what the chat is. That's all. But it's not the easiest thing to. Yeah, it's not the easiest thing to do. But yeah. Oh, we're all good, and yeah, good to be here. Week off. Hope everything went well last week, Ranz.
Yeah, I can't complain. It was just all family stuff. Got another like massive weekend. Half of it's gone already today, and then tomorrow we've got the youngest has got a birthday party. So it's really busy this time of the year for my family. There's August and September are just full of birthdays. I don't know why it happened like that. That's just the card our family's been dealt, and we get through probably about. I think we worked out it was about 16 people in our family between the 1st of August and the 30th of September that have got, they're all like real, close family, not like extended stuff, real close families, people that have got birthdays in that time period. So it's kind of like weekend, during the week we're going to the restaurants on the actual day to have birthday dinners, and it's just so busy. It's so busy. But anyway, it's good. It's good to have you guys because I do, and you guys are like my extended family. I enjoy having you guys every week, so I do miss having the show. That's for sure.
Go tidy your room, Ranz.
Yeah, you should see it, mate. Right now, it's a bomb. It's hit it in here. Yes, pulling things out, and yeah. Anyway, we won't go there. Any one of you guys have got new gear in the last couple of weeks that you want to talk about? Because I thought we'd.
I have.
Yeah? What did you get?
You go first, Ian. Oh, yeah.
Oops, where's it gone?
The modal Sculpt.
Sculpt came this week actually. Bought it purely I made the mistake of looking, because I'm a big advocate for the instrument, and I was looking on Roger Lynn's site, and he was going through the list of all the synths that the hardware synths, and then I hadn't picked up on the sculpts at all really, and then I suddenly thought, well, actually, they're really cheap, and I bought it purely and simply for the MPE. So and it does an amazing thing when you put it into MPE mode. All of the presets are MPE, which I don't think I've ever come across before. I'm still sort of just getting my head around it. It's a nice little thing actually, and my plan is to sort of take it to gigs and do it at EMOMs and things like that. Really, my only criticism of it so far is that the preset switching with the little keyboard thing is a bit flaky. Now this is a second-hand one, so it could be that that's probably why the guy sold it really. But actually, I can switch presets on the instrument, which is what I'm doing.
Could always ask the guys at Model quid. You never know.
Yeah, I could actually. I mean,
they're pretty good.
Yeah, I may do that at some point. It's off again. It's making its own noise.
They are actually really good with support. I actually should give them a shout out, because I had something really minor, and that was I couldn't find the screws that go into the rack ears for my Argon 8. I couldn't find them for the life of me, and they were kind of weird sort of thread. I'm not sure what it was, and I was just trying to find out what the actual, if it was an M3 thread or what sort of thread was it, right? So I could go to the hardware store and replace it, and the guys couldn't tell me. And these guys were tearing their heads, because it's done at the factory, and they had no idea what it was. So in all of their flurry trying to work out what these screws were, I found them. They were in this weird hiding spot that we always have. And I actually took a photo and I sent it back to them, and I told them what type of thread it was. And they were really, really thankful, because they never had documentation of that. And so now they've kept it on their records what type of threads they are, and if anyone loses them, they can tell people now what they are. And I think they were even talking about updating the manual to put that stuff in. So that is the length that those guys go to, even just with a small question like that.
I mean, I would have bought a new one, but it's like a lot of things. It's almost impossible to buy a new one at the moment, or it seemed to be. So I got this off Reverb, you know. So I think 160 quid new, something like that in UK. I got it for 120. You know,
That's so cheap, isn't it?
Yeah, it's. I mean,
It's nothing
for what it is. I mean, because it's Volker territory, and I'm not a huge fan of Volkers. Although I'm a Korg dealer, should I say that? But
I'm not a huge fan.
I mean, I like the way that this is laid out. I can happily see me using this on stage with, you know, and I know that it's the sort of layout of things is slightly not how you would expect, but I sort of get it. It's very easy to use, and I have to say that the app, because I installed last night, I know that apparently they've recently upgraded it. That is so easy to use, to just move patches around and all that sort of stuff. So no, well impressed.
Yeah, I mean the Argon 8 app's really, really good. The guys have got the Cobalt say the same thing. So
I think it's all the same
not
app,
surprising.
You just pick.
Yeah.
It just recognises what you've got, which is amazing. Really.
Yeah, just through the device ID. Yep, you got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, awesome.
The Behringer app then for the Deep Mind.
You like that, do you?
No, I haven't got a Deep Mind, but I've heard that the Behringer app for the Deep Mind is not the best because I don't think it even works on new iOS or anything like that.
Oh no, they updated it recently. You were right. It did have a period where it didn't work.
A while then.
Yeah, they've just recently, probably a few months ago, they updated it. Before we talk about anything else, I need to, before I forget, to thank Wagoo for the chuff that he's put through in the chat a little while ago, but we got caught off in conversations with introducing people and everything. So thank you, Wagoo, for the chuff. I did thank him in the chat as well.
Did you see that list of gear he said he'd actually got? There's quite a lot. I don't know if he meant quite a lot of new stuff, but he said Behringer Para D, so that's the Poly D, anyway. Casio SK4, AM synths, Jupiter 6, Jupiter 8, 101, VCF modules, Modal Finelton VCF, that's the new one from Modal that you've got a Kickstarter. Akai SO1 for circuit bending, SE2 extension box, EMU emulator 2. You got bought yourself an emulator 2?
Wow. Fractal Axle FX3.
The Jupiter 6, are these real hardware Jupiters you bought, or are these software ones? I mean, I know you've got every synth under the sun, but going out and
I'd say they're hardware. Knowing Daniel, I'd say they're hardware.
A Jupiter 8 and a Jupiter 6 is... Wow, what have you been up to, Wags? Oh, blimey. You're opening your own Swiss synthesizer museum in competition to the one next door.
Actually, out of that, I mean, obviously, all that stuff's pretty interesting.
The AM synth VCFs, the Eurorack modules, yeah. What about the Jupiters? Yeah, come on.
I wish you told me that you were going to get the SEO2 extension box, because I've got one sitting here, literally doing nothing.
Spare one.
I've got a spare one. You could have just shot me your address. I would have sent it to you. Seriously, the amount of support he's given us on this channel, I would have just sent it to him. So
I had to get mine replaced. Something happened to it, but.
Yeah, they're really good. If you've got an SEO2, which, by the way, is definitely Roland's best boutique, by a long shot, and that's probably because Studio Electronics had a lot to do with it.
DO5 is pretty cool, though, too.
Because I tell you why it's their best boutique. Because it's basically a Moog Model D. It's basically a Moog Model D, but it has patch memory and a whole bunch of other digital, UI that you can muck around with it. It's so good. So people actually use these on stage because it has really quick recall of patch memory. They can have different sounds coming out, Moog sounds coming out, and have that pure analog sound. It's awesome. And then you get the extension box and you've got the big fat cutoff knob happening on it, and you've got CV control over the cutoff as opposed to digital control, which just gives you that more granular purity. So yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Nice. It's just said that he had to order his directly from Studio Electronics in the US.
That's what I had to do. Yep.
You missed a trick there, Wagoo. Never mind.
Yep. and the whole thing was, you guys, you remember, don't you, Brooksy? I ordered one, and then they sent me one, and about a week later they sent me another one. I'm like, what are you doing? And I emailed them back and said, guys, You sent me 2. What's going on?
Just have a look at the next thing he's posted here now. He went to pick up the Emulator 2 last Saturday, and it was a guy in his 20s who had a Fairlight CMI 2X, an OBX, a Prophet 5, a DX1, 5 PPGs, 3 waves.
Huge Studer 2-inch tape machines.
And it's 2-inch.
Yeah,
Studer, wow.
I know,
Studer.
Studer 2-inch, that'd be cool, just honestly. Yeah,
I don't even know what they are.
You do, Rant. Studer's 24-track tape recorders on 2-inch tape.
Studer
PPGs.
Revox.
Just let that sink in for a sec. 5 PPGs, right? Not just one. I mean, how often do you see a PPG? This guy had 5 of them. Jeez.
Yeah, I've just sort of thought, is it?
This guy's some sort of dealer, surely.
Is Wigoo wearing a balaclava? That's what I want to know.
Yeah. What were the guys from Yellow? Dieter Meyer and Boris Blank. I bet it's Boris Blank's son. I bet that's what it is. Wagyu, is it Boris Blank's son? I bet it is. I bet
Boris Blank. Yeah, from Yellow. Yeah. It could be. There's not that many people like with that sort of synth collections there.
Can't possibly be.
Jeez, I tell you what, Boris, he was a master of the Fairlight, wasn't he?
Boris Blank was great, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Love Yellow.
Well, what I say is. He still is. He released an album. Was it last year, the year before?
Yeah. Blimey.
Fantastic. I'd love to get someone like Yellow, on the show. I reckon that'd be awesome. Boris would be cool. Pick his brains. How did you go about doing those sounds back then? It would have been a nightmare. Like, it really would have. Like, some of those sounds that they made and how they sequenced them, and they would have had to have, like, would have been painstaking, like, perfectionism, getting the tapes right and the channels and the tracks right. Just would have been so hard.
Well, the other guy, Dieter Meyer, though, is also a really interesting character. A professional gambler, grandmaster chess player, a high-level poker player, and all. You're thinking, where do these people come from?
Wasn't he a mathematician or something? I thought Dieter was a mathematician.
I think so. Yeah. A load of bullshit that made up for the media.
And a hell of a dancer, too.
Yeah. And a good sense of humour. And one of the scariest faces in pop music.
Yeah. One of the PPGs used to belong to Edgar Froese. Oh, there you go.
No, Wags.
Is that the one you bought? That's the one I would have got. Seriously. Didn't everyone just use presets for Ableton? Well, technically, they weren't presets; they were samples, right? They were kind of samples. So you kind of you had a choice. There was a massive amount of samples that you could load from disk, right? So you could load them off from disk, but at the same time, you could sample your own stuff and save that to disk and then mangle that up. It was, still to this day, it was a pretty genius system. Have you guys been watching Chris's videos? The guy that's putting the Fairlight back together from something that wasn't originally a Fairlight. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. So if you don't know,
Chris Blythe, right?
Yeah, Chris Blythe. He lives in LA. He's Scottish, isn't he? Is he Scottish?
I've seen him interviewed, but I've not seen him. He's making the actual Fairlight. But I saw him interviewed.
He's posted a series of videos on.
He's got his own YouTube channel.
The guy that was on Sonic State, that was Jem Godfrey, was on Sonic State recently, and he was also on.
This
also
wasn't
on Presonus. Has Chris Blythe been on Sonic State?
No,
maybe he has.
This was a while ago. I remember seeing, because he went on his studio with a little camera and just showing stuff. It might not have been Sonic State, but I certainly remember. Yeah, he's Scottish. Yeah,
I thought he's Scottish. Yeah,
but he did some stuff with Centaur. Centaur's been.
Yeah. Centaur kind of helped him do some of the, the production of his video, but he got this. I forget the name of it. It's a Fairlight product, but it wasn't a Fairlight CMI. It was a Fairlight, something else. And it's got this weird keyboard with the jog wheel on it. And he found out that this is kind of like a precursor for you guys to go and watch his, 15 video series on it. he found out that you can actually mangle this thing and actually turn it into a Fairlight CMI. And so there goes the big, massive, huge endeavour project story that he embarks on, and he literally takes you through the pains and tribulations of the whole thing. So check it out. It's definitely worth it. I'll see if I can dig up the link while we're talking, and you guys can watch it later if you haven't. But one of the things I found that was interesting is that he actually he's spoken to MFX Robbie. Robbie, has he spoken to you? I'm pretty sure he's spoken to you. But he's spoken to Peter, like the original Fairlight guy. He's speaking to quite a lot of people that were around in the days when Fairlights were invented and made. And what he's doing is quite, I think it's quite important, because he's getting all that information and keeping records of it all. So while he's doing the MFX conversion across to a Fairlight, he's also keeping all that information and records, and I think that's important because you don't want those to go anywhere. You want, people to need to sort of keep that. There you go. Robbie knows him. I wouldn't be surprised.
Of course.
Robbie knows everyone.
Knows most of the people in the Fairlight world. If they're keeping them going and they're still current, I think he probably does.
It's also
not a flippant comment.
It's also worth having a look at the little. No, it's fine. Sorry, we crossed. There's a short little video which I got the information from Robbie actually about the history of the Fairlight. It's only 20 minutes, and it's a brilliant video. That it's in if anybody's not seen it, watch it because it's great. It's not. It doesn't, as Robbie has said himself, it doesn't go into a lot of depth, but it's a really, really good little introduction to the Fairlight.
I've just chucked his channel into the chat so you guys can check it out later.
On another point with that, actually, it is also worth mentioning Robbie's seminar that he did at Synthfest in 2019. It will be, Robbie, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was 2019.
Yeah, it was.
Was shown on Sound on Sound's website, YouTube channel, and I think it's still there. That's also well worth watching. It's a really good and very informative hour about the history of the Fairlight, where it came from, how it developed. So that's also worth a watch. Robbie, Ranzee's typing away quickly on that one. So 2019 it was, Synthfest 2019. Are we all geared up for 2022 for Synthfest? Are we all getting slightly anxious? You taking a day off work, Darren, so you can get over?
Oh, what was that? Send me an airline ticket and I'll come. Okay, so topic this week is synthesizer education, and it's something that we haven't talked about. And how I kind of came across this topic, I thought I'd give you guys a little bit of a preamble here. Is there's a research professor at a university here in Western Australia who went on the radio during the week, and he was talking about this journal article that he's published, and it's about the stigma behind the stereotype of people that go into music careers, and kind of how he introduces it is that parents love their kids studying music while they're going through school, and they usually push them into it. They usually say, "Yep, go learn piano or go learn violin or whatever." Right? In my case, my daughter does flute. And my youngest son, he does piano and he does violin, and and it's all beginner stuff for him. But my daughter's in high school, so she's been doing it for years. And when he was talking about this stuff, it kind of struck a chord with me because I'm living through it, right? But then he said once they finish school and they have this conversation with their parents, and it's like, I want to have a career in music, and it's like the parents are like, oh no, aren't you going to be a doctor? aren't you going to be an engineer? Do you know what I mean? So there's a stigma.
You forced me down this path.
Yeah, and believe it or not, there's actually very lucrative careers in the music industry. It may not be, garage band type career, which is probably where the stereotypes come from. But there definitely is. There's people that are on this channel now that are literally in the music industry. Ian right below me, he owns a music store. That is someone that works in the music industry. Okay, so technically he's not someone that plays an instrument and makes money off of that, but he actually works in the music industry. He's making a living from it. So the whole stigma behind education kind of got me thinking. And then I thought to myself, because I like thinking about synthesizers, right? I thought to myself, hang on a minute, are they teaching synthesizers? And so I poked a few bears around schools that my kids go to, and the answer was no. Right? They have synthesizers in their classes. They have synthesizers there, but they don't teach them. They literally use it to load a preset up to play piano or something like that, right? So that's where the topic came from. So I thought I'd give you that nice little preamble. And I think we're in good company here because I do know that, Andrew's a teacher. So he's, qualified to talk about education, I think. I used to be a lecturer at uni, so I'm qualified to talk about lecturing at uni. Ian below, his shop used to do music workshops and lessons and things like that. So, it's... Yeah, go.
So for 7 years, we ran a music school above the actual music shop. It was the main part of our business for a lot of that time. And at its peak, we did over 300 lessons a week. We used to employ a team of tutors, and we used to do, and it was traditional instruments really. So we had tutors coming in doing guitar, piano, drums, violin, brass and woodwind, that sort of stuff. And I did run some courses on music technology, but I have to say they weren't very popular with kids. Or they might have been popular with the kids, but the parents weren't prepared to pay for them. What we used to find, it may be different now, but certainly here, in this part of Yorkshire, was that to a point, the schools would start kids off on a particular instrument, and there were always traditional instruments. Synthesizers were never discussed. So they might start them off on guitar or piano, and then after a term, the lessons would stop, or they'd try and do guitar in groups of say 10. Well, having taught in small groups, that stuff doesn't work, because you're always working to the person that's the weakest to some extent. It's not their fault, but you can't really teach musical instruments on that bit. So 1-to-1 or 1-to-2 at most is the best way forward, really. So we used to pick up on sort of all of those sort of things, really. And I also, I haven't researched this, but I do believe that funding for musical instruments, certainly at primary school, has just pretty much dried up over the last decade. Andy will be able to talk about secondary education, but it has pretty much dried up, I think, in the UK. So yeah, it's always traditional instruments. A little interest in, when I used to do sort of 10-week courses on introduction to Ableton Live, stuff like that, or songwriting and all that sort of thing. But I said they weren't very popular.
Yeah. So this is what I
really
found.
Surprising, isn't it?
This is exactly what I found. I found that the body of synthesizer education usually stems from music stores, and that's actually the same case here. Now, Robbie said that they do teach synthesizers at some schools in the UK, and they probably do in Australia. I didn't ring up every single school in Australia because there's probably 100, 200,000 schools here, so I'm not going to do that. But the pretensus is that when I was looking at this thing that my daughter got the other day, there was a list of instruments that she could choose, and the synthesizer wasn't any of them. Piano was, right? But synthesizer wasn't. There was guitar, there was drums, there was flute, violin, cello, double bass, all these sort of other instruments, all the sort of more contemporary and classical type instruments, but synthesizer wasn't one of them. So Brooksy, what's your sort of thoughts on this?
Well, before we get onto like formal education, I think it's worth pondering how we actually learned it in the first place ourselves. Because I think probably all of us have come to it simply through an enjoyment of music which used these particular machines, these devices. You'd see them listed on the back of records and go, "Ooh, what are they?" Or, and the names were familiar to me, particularly a lot of the sort of classic things from records that I owned before I even knew what they really were. Mini Moog being an obvious one. I remember Oberheim 8 voice was another one that seemed to crop up. And so and Fairlight and all these, and then once you start getting into it and you start finding out more, I learned how to use a synthesizer by buying a synthesizer and going, what do you do with this? And it was the first one where I was programming my own sounds. Really, I'd got a Krumar Multiman S, which had a sort of brass section with a resonant filter, and I thought, oh, God, that does that. It was labelled funny. It was called Brightness and Emphasis or something like that. But the first one, which had the full synthesizer voice, if you like, was a get ready for this one, Korg Poly 800. Parameter access and everything, but all the parameters are laid out. So you select the parameter. What does this one do? Doesn't do anything. Doesn't do anything. Doesn't do it. Oh no, it does. And then you're learning what you do. So that's sound. That's altering. This is time, and pieced it together. And then I got the Tysco 60F mono synth, which has got it very, very clearly labeled, even with LEDs showing the signal flow. Brilliant! What a great machine. I've spoken about that before. Great, one of the greatest mono synths ever made, or single oscillator mono synths ever made. And you really do understand then what these components are, what they're doing, and how they interact. Nobody at my school none of the music teachers would have known what a synthesizer was if it came running up to them screaming, "I'm a synthesizer" at them. They'd have gone, "Oh." So nowadays, though, I mean, I've been involved to a very, very small extent with our music technology course, insofar as I've given seminars to the music technology A-level students on subtractive synthesis, which is basic. Well, it was supposed to be analog, but subtractive synthesis in essence. And I've gone in with various boxes and things and shown that actually the principle of it, whether it's like the Pro One behind me with its sort of standard voicing, or something like a Korg Electribe, which is digital but still has that oscillator filter amplifier model, is transferable. So we get there, and then you show them, let them have a go on the machines, take the Volcas in, they can have a play about on them, they can play on the Pro One, they've played on the modular and things like that. And it's actually very satisfying to see, but it's sad that within even the whole A-level course, they don't seem to get, at least from the way I see it, they don't seem to get down to the very nitty-gritty of what synthesis actually is. The fact that each of these individual component parts on a synthesizer is emulating something which happens in acoustic sound. That's not to say that you're trying to emulate acoustic sounds, making my synthesizer sound like a clarinet, which is just boring. But actually, that's what each of these modules, if you like, does. It emulates a component. The actual vibration, the timbre, the amplitude over time. Yeah, like there's a perfect example. You look at that and you can see how that works. Sound generator, the timbre, the amplitude over time, that sort of thing. Yeah. Anyway, so I think it would be I wish they spent more time on it. But I think a lot of kids come to it in the same way. They've got their computers, they've got Logic running, they've got Ableton, GarageBand. These plugins are there that they can explore, actually. And it's probably far easier for them to have access to quite deep synthesizers, far more than we had. And maybe that's why perhaps they don't take it as seriously or look as deeply, because it's so easy. You open up this plugin and there's a list of 1,000 presets. Why would you bother programming your own? Unless you're really interested.
Yeah, I
Paul Torbert's comment. But I just seen Paul Torbert. A micro brute should be in every school. Now, I really do think that there's an argument for some of these small, cheaper synthesizers being in music departments, but do you see them?
No.
Our music department doesn't have any.
No.
Well, I mean, we showed the Model D before, which is the Behringer one, and the only reason why I showed that is because I can't afford a real one. But also, this is affordable, right?
Snap.
This is affordable.
That sounds good.
So, and it actually does sound pretty good. Now, I'm actually a firm believer that musicians do like a tactile experience, and that's why they play, the flute, or they play the guitar, or whatever. It's a tactile. It's a muscle memory tactile, connection between their ears, their brain, and their body when they, are playing an instrument. And I think if they were sort of doing this with it doesn't have to be a Model D. It could be, like you said, Brooksy, it could be a Pro 1 or something like that. They actually have this tactile sort of experience, changing the cutoff frequency, or mixing oscillators to different, octaves, and changing, envelopes, or adding an LFO or something like that. And they probably don't realize, if they're playing with this sort of stuff in GarageBand or a cheap version, cut down version of Ableton or whatever they've got, they probably don't realize where this has come from, what it actually really truly means. They probably just take it for granted, which is, I find a lot of kids these days, they just accept things as if that's how it is, but they don't actually really understand why it's like that. And if you think back, before the late 60s, right, this didn't exist. There was, there was subtractive synthesis around, but it was a lot more complicated with the modular systems and that. And you would never probably want to teach your kids that, because it'll just be, very, very difficult. So this is an example. So is the ARP 2600, so is the Odyssey. These are examples of society making a product easier to learn and use. And still to this day, it lives to that testament. So I'm a firm believer that the kids, and I don't necessarily mean kids either, beginners. Let's not just give it to kids.
Yeah.
Let's say beginners from anywhere. You could be, King Charles, right? He's probably never touched a synth. King Charles, you're a beginner. Now you're at the age of 73, 74, whatever you are. Learn subtractive synthesis, and the best way to learn it is with a piece of hardware, right? Sorry, Chuck. We don't want to pick on you.
He's very fond of Herbert Howells. I'll just let you know that. His favourite composer is Herbert Howells. He likes that.
Yeah. It certainly is easier now, because I remember when I first, like Andy says, I bought a synthesizer to learn how to use it. And there used to be a magazine, I think it was Musician magazine, and they ran a series, it was monthly, and they ran a series of introductions to synthesis, which I cut out and I still actually have somewhere, because I found it recently, and I sort of stuck it on a folder and went through it, and I didn't understand all of it, and actually my little 700 didn't help that much, because obviously, it finds it for
all the terminology is different,
but exactly, So, yeah. But I did keep it when I got a synthesizer that actually it made more sense, So it was harder then, but it's so much easier now. I mean,
about the terminology, because it's true that, because my Korg Poly 800, it's not called an LFO, it's called an MG, a modulation generator.
Yep.
Yeah, and it was like, what? And then you get the idea. So, can I just ask you?
And the envelopes are different too.
Oh, they're very weird. Is that 700 above your head? Is that your original one?
That's my original. No, it's not my original one. No, I stupidly sold mine in the 90s, and then I bought that.
That's the Korg reissue, isn't it?
No, it's not. No, it's an original one.
Oh, okay.
But I bought it from a chap in Derby. It has been modified. It's got some sort of weird CV out, which doesn't work very well out the back of it, because I've tried it. But I love it. I don't use it very often. It's wonky because it's old, And when I spoke to Korg about it, they said, "Oh, we'll send you they've sent me the schematics and that." But actually, I like the fact that it's slightly wonky. It works. All the keys work. tuning it can take hours to some extent to get it actually banging pitch, but you could always modify that if you digitize the actual recording. You know, it doesn't sound like anything else that I've got, but it is the only analog synth that I've got.
But to me, I wouldn't even care. Like, the choice of what they decide to put in the schools, you know, so Behringer are doing that thing where they're giving out the MS1s to the kids. See, to me, that's a great idea. You know,
Definitely.
it may not be your perfect choice of a synth to give to a kid, but who cares? Like, at least it's something.
Wouldn't be far off.
I mean, it's fairly simplistic in its design, and that's probably a good thing. You don't want to sort of convolute people to a huge degree because you'll scare them away from it. Because, you know, kids, they will literally drop something if it's just too hard for them to grasp, and they'll just walk away. Or they'll just play up in the class or something like that. That's just how they are. You know, they'll just stare at the wall or whatever. No matter what you do, no matter how good a teacher you are. So it's for me, it doesn't really matter what you choose. It's more about what you do with it and how that information is delivered to them in a way so that they understand. And I think we kind of touched on it before. Subtractive synthesis probably should be the first thing that they get taught. I mean, you know, would you think FM is the first thing that you would teach? Would you think, you know, additive synthesis is the first thing you teach? Right? So what Brooksy said before about how it's modelled after trying to sonically reproduce sounds that are in the natural world, that's probably a good way to start. So they can understand what are they hearing with their ears.
Not what I said. That's not what I said. Wagging finger time.
What
I
did
said
you say?
that the modules within a subtractive synthesizer replicate the natural parameters of acoustic sound. So that those properties of pitch, timbre, amplitude, so loudness and duration. That's what those modules are doing. Not that you're necessarily trying to make a flute. Sorry, go on, Darren.
That's not really
But
what I
it's
meant
probably
anyway.
quite easy to make. It's easy to make a flute sound, though.
I didn't actually. I don't know.
Funny cat.
We probably crossed our paths there. I didn't mean what you were saying. What I'm saying is that the subtractive synthesis model is more attuned to sort of teaching them how synthesizers work, right? Because that's the whole point of it, is to get them into the world of synth. Because synthesizers, let's be honest, they are an instrument that goes out of tune if it's especially analog. Although the digital ones, I'm not quite sure about. But anyway, you know, it's something that they need to be aware of.
Well, I had a conversation with one of our physics teachers in school recently, and they were dealing with acoustics. That was their module, was about acoustics and sound waves and all of that sort of thing, and of course it's amplitude and I said to him, you said you need a synthesizer and an oscilloscope, and then they'll be able to hear it and see it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
This is where
he went, oh, sorry, Darren.
No, that's my story into music or sound, because when I started music, it was music lessons, i.e., like you say, piano, flute, clarinet, and I took up the clarinet. Well, I tried to. Let's put it that way. And I just couldn't play the clarinet. I was just like, you know, and it sort of puts you off what you think is music, but that's not music. That's learning to play an instrument at the time. So if you couldn't play an instrument, you sort of basically thought, well, I can't make music, so you sort of forget it and go off and do other things, which I did. Because I thought, I can't play piano, I can't get my hands to work, I can't play clarinet, so therefore I can't make music, and that's that gone. And a lot of people ended up like that, so that's why I only had one or two staying behind after school to do their music lessons, or as I say, instrument practice. Then later on, probably more in senior school, I was doing physics, because I liked physics, so we took up physics. And halfway through this is where Andy was saying about sound generation and how sound waves are made and etc. And the teacher actually brought in, and I'm sure it was a wasp he brought in, with an oscilloscope to show just, you know, the sound waves, how you could see it. And that's what sparked my synthesizer interest, not the actual trying to play an instrument or music, because that was all pianos and guitars and I couldn't play them. So, like I said, I'd give up on music. But when I seen this new thing that I'd never seen before, and he was showing you how it creates the sound on a oscilloscope, then that's when it sparked. And then obviously from that point on, it sort of grew. You know, I was thinking, oh, so these synthesizers, I can sort of make sounds.
What a great
rather
teacher!
Than trying to blow
Inspiring.
Exactly. And he wasn't doing it to make music. It was just showing you. And it just turned out that all those times I was trying to, like I say, play a clarinet and I couldn't, and I just literally hated music then from that point on, or hated trying to play an instrument, but I still loved to create music, if you know what I mean. And as the electronic house scene came on, then this, like I say, this physics guy who was doing one of our lessons had shown me that, like, I'm sure it was a wasp because it was black and yellow, so it must have been. Had shown the, you know, the sound.
Too early for that TD3 above your head, Darren.
Yeah. And then that's where it sparked. And obviously, I realised that you didn't have to play a clarinet or play the piano. You can create music in, you know, and it's just grown from there. So that's how my path to sort of music came about. Through physics, not through music lessons.
Wow.
That's cool.
That is cool.
It is quite useful. Really, it is quite useful when you. I mean, whenever I'm teaching piano, especially to kids, and we'll get a few months into lessons, and I would always bring a synthesizer in at some point with a keyboard and get them to make some noise. So for those half an hour lesson, you know, just to spark that interest. It's not part of what we'd normally be doing. We'd normally be learning to read music and all the other sort of standard stuff you do in learning piano. But actually just to every so often bring in a synthesizer and just, you know, don't go into you know, any of the background of how it works. Just get them to make noise with it, you know, and it's great. You know, you see the light bulbs go on sometimes. You know.
Yes.
Yeah, just fiddling about with the knobs whilst holding the key down sort of creates.
Yeah.
You know, it makes you feel like you're making music rather than spending hours on end trying to do the scales on a clarinet, which you can't do.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly. All right. Well, we'll keep talking about this topic, I think, after our main segments because we've got to get through those. So, shall we start? I think we should start with this. We haven't had this for a while, have we? Yes, A is for oboe. If you've, I don't know where the hell you get this from. Lyra and Marilyn, you're really not helping. And Paul, you were doing some illustrations. You probably should have picked up on it. Just letting you know. Anyway, Brooksy, that's from your school, by the way. No, just kidding. Next thing is, this is a new fad. Let's get album covers and...
That's really good. Sorry.
I like the slippers.
I want the slippers too, Ian.
Well, if you like that one, you would also probably like this one.
From the what? She saw a wasp, didn't they?
She did.
That's superb.
Yeah, that one's good. How's it going, Dave? You look like you don't have a body. Next one is this one. This is probably my favourite.
That's wrong on so many levels.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yes.
Get it off the screen.
Get it off. Why? What's wrong with Eddie? Hey? And that is it for memes this week. Let's get it off the screen because Brooksy's going to vomit. What was your favourite meme of the week?
I'm sorry, the Eurythmics one because it just made me laugh the most. That just worked so well.
Yeah, Dave Stewart without a body. Yeah, that was my favourite too.
Yeah, the Eurythmics for me too.
What are the chatties saying? What was your favourite meme? Lisa's just joined in.
That's quite funny too. Hi, Lisa.
A is for oboe. Yeah. Yeah.
Hi, Lisa.
A sharp sharp. Right, good. Okay, well, now we've got that out of the way, we should probably get this out of the way. there's been news. There's probably been a lot of news, actually.
News? What's going on?
Yes, and of course, that will also stuff up as it does. Isn't that lovely? Hey?
It's tradition. We wouldn't want it any other way in this week of tradition. We want more tradition.
There, fix, done. Right, I've got to click through 3 windows to fix that. Okay, so we did kind of briefly touch on this earlier when we were chatting about Argon 8. Yes, Modal have, and they actually have talked about Eurorack modules before, and we'll talk about this in a minute after we watch the video. This is a Kickstarter project, and it's called the Filton, and who would like to know about this? But you all would, right? Who hasn't heard about this? I'm sure you guys visit the most common synth news websites, so and Facebook forums. So you're probably all getting the same news as me. Anyway, what is the Filton? It is actually 2 analog 24 dB 4-pole analog filters that were based on the 002 synthesizer that they made. Oh, geez, that'd be about 6 years ago or something now, wouldn't it? It'd be a while ago. Anyway, so it's a 20 HP module, and you can probably notice there that they've got, Darren will be happy, 2 massive cut-off knobs, which
yes,
is
2 big knobs for Darren.
Very, very good, I think, anyway. So the generally sized cut-off knobs...
They're on tight, so Rave can't pull them off.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, you'll notice below there's a little morph, sort of a couple of knobs down, you'll see the morph. That allows you to move between low pass, through band pass, and into high pass filter modes. That's a cool thing. So you can kind of sweep your filter through at the same time whilst morphing it through different filter modes. I think you're gonna get some interesting effects out of that. There's a gambit of CV connectivities you can see on there. And you'll notice also that there's 2 separate outs, but there's also a mix, so you can combine the 2 filters, which is always handy. I think they did miss a trick though with this, and that would be cool if you could actually have this as a stereo sort of setup. You kind of can. Do you know what I mean? If you have your two separate filters on 2 separate channels, you kind of could, but I think there's there's an opportunity there. That's gone big. Anyway, let's just see if we've got video lined up. Where's my video thing gone? Video. I haven't done the show for a while, so I'm getting shocking. Every time I press this, I've got to wait for the ads. Yep, and there's ads. There's no way of me skipping the ads in here. Here we go.
This is Filton, a 20 HP dual analog transistor ladder filter module for Eurorack by Modal Electronics. With its true analog design, Filton injects rich and warm sound character into your Eurorack modular system. With distinctive saturated transistor overdrive, resonant harmonic peaks, and warm analog timbres, the transistor ladder filter's classic sound has been adored by synth lovers for generations. In fact, we liked it so much that in 2013, we designed our own unique variation to include it in our first ever product, the Modal 002. The 002 featured a 24 dB per octave 4-pole transistor ladder filter, with some very unusual morphing characteristics or pole sweeping, enabling smooth transitions from 4-pole into bandpass onto 1-pole 6 dB per octave, or anywhere in between. Fast forward a few years, and following the success of the Modal 002 and subsequent sibling Modal 008, we designed and developed a series of Eurorack modules starring the oscillators and filters from both of these synth powerhouses. We made the decision not to push these designs to production, instead shifting our focus and passion to the development of other innovative synths, like the ultra-portable Sculpt and Craft synths, and the more recently acclaimed Argon 8 wavetable synth and Cobalt 8 extended virtual analog synthesizer. However, now, even 6 years later, in 2022, we still get weekly emails and messages from people asking us to release our Eurorack modules, in particular the Modal 002 ladder filter module. Filton is our answer to these passionate individuals. You asked, and we listened. While the latter filter in Filton is based on the same filter circuitry from Modal's 002 synthesizer, we have made some alterations to the original design to improve both stability and sound quality. The big change is that it now contains 2 discrete filters rather than just one found in the original. That means you can process 2 sound signals independently or allow for series or parallel processing of a single source. Each filter features an audio input, 4 analog CDs with attenuator controls for FM, resonance, morph, and level, pitch tracking provided by the 1 volt per octave input, an audio output, and a mixed output. All CD inputs on filter A have been normalized to filter B, meaning any of the CD signals plugged into filter A are automatically sent to filter B if nothing is plugged into the corresponding input. We currently have no plans to continue distributing Filton through our usual sales channels following the campaign, so Filton will be a Kickstarter exclusive. This dedicated campaign will be your only chance to be one of the select few to own a Filton module. Thank you for your interest and support in our project. We hope that all...
Okay.
You're muted,
Muted,
John.
Ranz.
You're muted. Take a drink.
Take a drink.
It was a Kickstarter project, as you guys worked out from the end there, which I think is worth showing.
I was just going to say it's got timber, not timbre.
Yeah, timbre, yeah. Timber. I think he was reading that.
Timber.
Yeah. I noticed that when I first watched
With
the
a few
video.
wolves.
With a few wolves, yeah.
Well,
Boom, boom.
considering most people don't pronounce the timbre wolf keyboard correctly, it's not so shocking he did that.
Look, it's probably not a groundbreaking thing that they're releasing. This is the trap that you've got to be careful of in Eurorack. You kind of have to think to yourself, all right, what am I bringing to the Eurorack world? And, is it going to crack heads? Is it going to be something that no one's seen? Is it just going to be another product that people can just choose? There are dual filters out there. There's quad filters. There's, So
I was going to say these brands that it's up against it in many ways because there've actually been a few of these sort of things released. On the other hand, I last night after this, I saw this for the first time last night on Pro Synth Network. Robbie did show it, even though you could tell he didn't really want to, but we did show it. Oh, that's interesting. And I had a good look at, because there's obviously things like the Q Pass from Make Noise, the stereo, and I did look at this because you made a comment earlier. You can actually do a mono into stereo with that filter. It will do series and parallel processing. You put one in and use both sides to do a stereo out, which of course is something that the Q Pass does as well. But the Q Pass is designed to go with obviously the stereo oscillators. But there are a few of these things. Personally, I think it looks beautiful. Oh my word, what a lovely thing! My only concern, for me, in what I'm now looking at this rack over here, and I'm now in my own head shrinking everything down. I'm trying to make it all smaller.
Yeah, it's 20 HP,
and that's such a big module. It is such a big module. My mind just knows the Q Pass. So,
and
I think
£300
really
too.
It's not cheap.
£300 for a filter.
It's not cheap.
Yeah.
But you can go and buy the 121 from Behringer dual filter. Okay, they're not linked, but you can put them together. You make nice stereo sound. Been doing that a lot recently. But I don't think that it's not going to sound the same. It really isn't. I think this thing from Modal is going to sound the mutts nuts, as they say.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyone else want to make a quick comment? We'll go on to the next.
Well, the famous Molecular Richter dual Borg filter is around the same price, and it has 2 different filters.
Yeah.
Has a
Also
Cascade and a MS-20.
Also, the Roland
is it still available?
System 500 505 filter is probably one of the better dual filters out there because it's got the SH5 filter in it, and it's modeled after the System 100, not the System 100M, which is actually the true filter that they should have always had. So Behringer never did that on their System 100 clones. So
they're a bit weak.
There's plenty.
They sound nice enough. But they're not ballsy enough, are they?
No, they're not ballsy enough. Get the System 500 module, mate. You'll find a nice, decent set of balls on that. That's for sure.
What are you suggesting?
You wanted ballsy? Okay. What else have we
Got a
got?
big knob, right? So yeah.
Okay, so that is that. The next thing I wanted to show you guys is this Soundfreak VCS3. Now, this is really, really cool. Okay, so these are not eurorack modules, by the way. These are the Buchla 4U style modules. Okay, so this is, for those who are kind of getting all excited. Geez, it'd be good if they were eurorack modules, though, for me anyway, because I don't have a Buchla system. But let's talk about this, because I think these guys have done this in a very, very respectful and tasteful way. Soundfreak have actually licensed these modules with EMS, and I'm talking about electronic music studios based in Cornwall. So this is the actual real original manufacturers of the VCS3, and they still make them, by the way. They've actually got approval and license, and you can see on the bottom of the modules it actually says Soundfreak and EMS Cornwall written on there. So what have they got? They've got 3 new modules, as I said, in the 4U Buchla form factor. The modules are licensed, as I said. There's a triple VCO, a dual filter, and an envelope with noise generator. So let's show you the different ones. You can see them all there, but let's just go through individually. The triple VCO, look at that. Isn't that a thing of beauty? Hey? Look at that. It definitely has the sort of, there's a little sort of Buchla sort of look to it, but at the same time it definitely looks like a VCS3. But information on their website says that these are 3 independent oscillators. They are identical in controls but different in range and waveforms, as you can see. And from the top to the bottom you can see the 3 oscillators are labelled, and the horizontal lines visually separate them. And what else can you see? They have frequency range extended well below the audible range, which is really, really cool. And that allows musicians to use them both as a sound or modulation source. And that's kind of what happened on the VCS3, if you didn't know. What else? There's signal routing for the 4U format, which gives you the tinny jacks and banana sockets. So do you see the blue and the normal jacks? So that's what they're talking about there. Next one.
Are they the same outputs then? So the blue ones are banana and the other ones are like eurorack standard?
Both. Yeah, they both provide the same output, but you get the choice of which one you want to use.
Which cable you want to use? Okay.
Yep. Dual filter is also an oscillator as well. What can I tell you about this? Identical filtering circuits as the VCS3. Now this actually really is, I think, a cool thing, because I thought the filter on the VCS3 is kind of quite unique, and I'm actually kind of, I just wish someone would, do more VCS3 stuff in any form factor. So I'm glad these guys are doing it. It almost makes me want to go and buy a 4U system just to get this. It is actually really cool. There's an additional FM circuit in there you can see, right? Which gives you the sort of control for cutoff frequencies and for both CV and audio signals. So you can use the FM for both modulation or actual audio as well. The dB switch allows you to change the filter slope from 24 dB to 18 dB. And the slew is pretty handy as well, I would say. So that is what I call a decent filter. Like, look at the controls of those filters, right? That's 2 filters there. We just looked at another module that had 2 filters on it. Okay. And then we've got the envelope shaper. Now, the envelope shaper is, so this is where I still think someone should have done the trapezoid stuff, right? When you think about the VCS3 and the cool sounds that they used to get out of that thing, a lot of it had to do with the envelope shaper. That's actually, the trapezoid and the way that the EG was set up. Down the bottom, you notice also there's a noise generator too, which is separate, but they've merged it onto this module to give you access to it. There's up to 4 distinctive sounds with the 4 semi-normalized inputs that you can get up the top. See that? Up top? Which I think is pretty cool. Yes. Anyway, essentially what we're looking at is 2,000 euros for the oscillator, 1,600 euros for the filter, and 1,400 euros for the EG. Now the prices are pricey, so we're talking really big money, but that is generally what happens when you do things through EMS. Because if you think about buying a VCS3 through EMS, you guys know that we're talking, yeah, what is it? What are we up to now? £5,000 or something now?
Yeah, but for that amount of money, you'd go, okay, fine. And the 5-year or 7-year waiting list that exists for one. But that's still an awful lot of money for what are basically modules. I didn't know they were going to be that much. If you said they were £500 each, I'd have sort of like screwed my face and gone, ooh, yeah, okay, I get it. If you think what Tip Top have done with Buckler and the price of those Tip Top and Buckler modules,
that's a completely brilliant thing, isn't it? Yeah.
You'd have to say, are they pitching this entirely wrong?
Oh,
But
absolutely.
I love the fact that it's there. I really do. I mean, as soon as you saw that, I went, oh my, that's lovely. Oh, that's a thing, and it is a thing. And there will be some people out there who will be happy to invest their money in it and run with it. Oh, what a shame that they're so expensive, though.
Yeah.
No, never mind. So yeah, 2,000 quid a module is a lot. I mean, that's a bitter pill to swallow.
But if you go into Modular Grid and you type in VCS3 into your search, okay, it's no surprise at all that AM Synths are behind some of the stuff with the SH03 VCF. And you've got all these kind of interesting... So there's a trapezoid generator here too. So, and the other thing that I was going to look... I'm pretty sure there is a pin matrix in here somewhere. I forget who did one.
Yeah,
we talked about it a few years ago.
Wonderland. Frequency Central, though, we talked about it a few weeks ago.
Yeah, there was that, but there was one...
These different pin matrices.
Yeah, there was one a bit earlier than that, and I can't remember who did it. I'm trying to go back.
Erica Synths did one.
Yeah, that's who it was. It was Erica, wasn't it? Oh, but they did a whole VCS3, didn't they, basically?
They did, yeah.
Yeah. I'm actually looking for the actual module itself. This is it. This thing. The Matrix 2. So let's get that up.
Yeah, with the Centrix was done with buttons, not with cables.
Yeah. So the Matrix, I remember showing this Matrix 2, geez, I forget when it was now. This actually works. So is it going to let me zoom in? There we go. So this works. This is a visual display of how you actually set your matrix here. And these are your actual connectivities there. So you've got 16 by 16, right? So that would give you the same technical, you won't get that tactile putting a pin in type thing, but you can, with the jog wheel, you can actually, move that little crosshair to wherever you want to go. The only thing I don't like about this, and I've seen these kind of things before, is numbering the columns and the rows does my head in, right? Because what does that mean? It's basically whatever you connect it to, isn't it, right? So if you connect pin 1 to VCF and out, 1 to, I don't know, whatever, you've got to remember all that stuff. And when you start putting it in eurorack, it's just going to be spaghetti mess, right? It's going to be really quite annoying. So that sort of thing, I kind of feel like they should have had a better display on there so that you could label, your columns and your rows. You could actually go in there and type them in or whatever. And so, yeah. Anyway, so if you were to sort of wanting to do a VCS3 or a Synthy or something like that in Eurorack world, you can do it. If you went through and searched, there's oscillators you can get, there's filters you can get, there's envelope generators you can get. So, and Brooksy, you don't have to spend 2,000 euros either to get it. If we go back,
no, you don't.
To some of those, we're looking at 300 euros.
I mean that's the iPad app, which is the VCS3.
Yeah.
Right. And obviously it's but the layout of it is, I mean having spent an afternoon with a real VCS3 a few years ago. I mean, it made complete sense to me when I actually played with that, and they've taken the original design there and used it on the iPad app. That makes much more sense than what we've just seen.
Oh, absolutely.
The great thing about that app too is you can play with samples and you can do granular stuff on it too.
Yeah. It's a really good app. It's not expensive either.
There's guys that have done concept modules as well. Like that's kind of getting almost exactly what you want there. You've got your ins and outs on the right-hand side there, so your A's to your Z's type thing. I don't really know how that would work. And it was a concept module, so I don't know how far they got with that thing. But there, it's more tactile than the other one I showed you before.
Even the Microfreak has a little dial-in mini matrix without pins, so you can do that there too.
Yep. And like Brooksy said, there's the Erica synth thing as well.
There's been a few modules released. I don't know if you've seen it from Frequency Central, which are designed to send signals around a larger rack system, which are bussed using the like the power bus cables, but just for they take audio and CV. So if you've got a rack or two racks, you can bus a cable from one thing to the other. And I was having a look at those, but there are all sorts of these sorts of routing solutions, which are again like that one, the Frequency Central one. I didn't mean Frequency Central actually. I meant the other one, that Juno filter, that Juno chorus people. Who are they? They're
feedback modules.
Feedback, that's it. Feedback modules. They've just announced there's like 3 of these modules, and they all link together with the power cables to help you send things perhaps from one rack to another rack, or from, if you've got like a big rack, from the top to the bottom. So you don't have to go. You don't have to have great big long patch cables. You can do it through a bus cable behind. It makes a lot of sense in many ways.
It's their CMS Lab collaboration that they're doing with CMS Lab.
Yes.
So
they're coming up with some really interesting sort of utility modules. But
I'm actually going to show those a bit later. So hold that thought. We'll talk about that a bit later. No, that's right. That's completely fine. Yeah.
But it again shot me gob off too.
No, absolutely. It was. I mean, if it would have been a perfect segue if it was the next thing. But actually, the next thing that we want to talk about is the Roland store opening up in London. There it is there. And that is on Denmark Street, if you guys are wondering where it is. I don't get a chance to watch some of these shows that precurse my shows. So if I'm repeating stuff sometimes, I do apologise if you guys have seen it on the other shows. But if I bring it up, it means because I want to talk about it too. So if I was living in London, I definitely would go and check this out. One of the things that I liked about this is they've got a couple of attractions in this store, right? Number one is they've got this thing called the Audio Specific Experience, or ASX, which is a proprietary Roland invention. And basically it's a combination of music, sound, and video. And when you go into the store, that all interacts with you as you're doing things. And I think the next photo might show it. I'm not sure if the next photo is going to come up or not. Yeah, there we go there. So you can see all the LED strip lighting and everything in there, and the videos. That all interacts with you as you're looking at products and things like that in there. Interestingly, they've got an SH01 Gaia there. Interesting. Anyway, so if you're wondering where that is, it's on number 10 Denmark Street in London. Why did they choose Denmark Street? I know the answer, but I wonder if you guys know the answer to that. Why would they choose Denmark Street?
Well, because I would think purely simply because obviously, it has a lot of history in terms of it being full of music shops and publishers back in the day. Publishing
history. You got it.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Yeah. I mean, actually, there was a really, really good restaurant down there as well, which I used to visit when I was out to London, but it's gone now. Really good steakhouse. But anyway, that's a separate story.
But it's not really the touristy side, is that street? It's kind of more the businessy side, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Interesting choice, but obviously there's musicians going into studios and things there too. So, That could be the
there
reason.
they were closing down music shops and getting to move. There's all sorts of stuff going on in the last before the pandemic, I think.
Yeah.
About Denmark Street not being the centre of music stores in London.
Yep.
Yeah.
Does anyone know if the store that where is it? Was that an old? Where is it? Not there. Whoops. Sorry, Brooksy. Was that an old music store? Maybe someone might actually recognise that store itself. It's next door to
Rose Morris is there.
Guild Gallery and Rose Morris.
I think it's opposite.
Rose Morris is an old traditional store.
Yeah, it is, and it's opposite the guitar stores, because it weren't the guitar stores opposite. There's 2 or 3 of them. They may have gone now, but
it's right next to Centre Point, isn't it? All around there.
Yeah, is that Centre Point down the end there? So
no, it's all on that triangle of land. Isn't it?
That other end is the business. That's the business park thing, isn't it? Down the other end. Yeah. Is anyone picking up on this though? So this is kind of like an Apple thing. Do you know what I mean? So this is like an Apple store, but this is now a Roland store, right? So this is kind of what they're envisaging. Roland have done this before, but they've never done it as a standalone store. They've done it in, you'd know, Andy, over in the US, they've had little Roland corners in Guitar Center, and they don't think they do that anymore. And they do that in Australia as well. So if you go into a bigger music store in Australia, they'll have literally like a Roland section, which is no other product is allowed in there. You walk through into that section and it's got all the Roland stuff in there. And they usually have trained representatives that work in that. And I think that's how the Guitar Center used to work as well, wasn't it, Andy?
Yeah, I mean, like companies like Novation do it now with the little stand-up things with all the circuits on display with all the literature. So they don't do full sections anymore. They do like these little standees.
Right. So. Yeah. So I mean, Roland's just gone out on their own now. So anyway, I mean, out of interest, you guys would probably, if you're in London, you probably want to go check it out. I mean, I probably would. There's nothing wrong with checking out a store.
Can I ask a question? I know Andy, he nips down to music stores quite frequently, but I'd like to ask everybody else, when was the last time you went into a physical music shop? Because I haven't been into one for a long, long time, and the last time I did, it was actually a really bad experience.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think that's really sad.
Well, Guitar Center is a bad experience generally. So.
Ian goes to one every day.
Well, I don't because we're online now. But last music store I went to was Gear for Music, and you're right, it's not a good experience.
Yeah, they're in York, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean,
Gear for Music.
They are. They're sort of 15, 16 miles away from me.
I went into quite a large music shop here in Sheffield. They carry all sorts of things, and their music tech departments, or the keyboards and synths and all that stuff, is upstairs. And up I went, and I was in there on my own for half an hour, just me.
Nobody
just
spoke
me.
to you.
Walking, and not a single person came in and I'd gone in for a purpose, and I just thought, well, fuck you, excuse my French, I mean, I was really quite annoyed about it, because I used to remember going into, I mean, I've mentioned this place before, but Music Ground in Doncaster. I'd get the bus on a Saturday morning into Doncaster, and I'd go and stand around the Music Ground, I'd play on these things, and I wasn't going to buy anything. They knew I wasn't going to buy anything, but occasionally I did buy something. I bought this, and I bought that, and I bought the other, and after a while you become a customer, and I think that the young people today, they haven't really necessarily quite got that same opportunity of going in, playing, finding out, working out what you like. The fact, I mean, I remember playing a Juno 106 next to a DX something or other. It wasn't a DX7, can't remember which one it was. And really, sorry, Robbie, really not liking the DX, but loving the Juno 106. But that's just the way it goes. And the one, the bit one, and playing on these things, and they allowed you to do it. They you ever play, kid? Yeah, that's no problem. And that's an experience which I think is missing these days.
We'll keep
and
that
actually
question. Can I just quickly show you this because
No, if your music's
Robbie's just sent this in. This is a photo of that street before.
Oh, cool.
So
right, okay. There's a music room on the corner
just-
there, isn't there?
yeah.
So Rosemary, what else have you spotted, Ian?
Music room is right next door to Rose Morris, but there used to be some. I'm sure there's some guitar shops on the other side of the road, but they don't seem to be there anymore. There's a barber's and a hairstylist.
So what he's saying is Rose Morris, right, is where the Roland store is now, and then they've moved down. I'll go back to the other shot. You'll see they've moved down 2 doors. You watch. So Roland is where the old Rose Morris was.
It looks like that Rose Morris store was always there, though.
Yeah. No, but
if you go back to the picture.
Yeah.
If you go back to the picture, it's still, isn't it?
No, so if you look at Rose Morris, it's got the grey building, and then there's the red building, and then there's the cream building, right? Which is where Rose Morris is now. So it's like 3 buildings down. On don't include the music room. 3 buildings down from the right.
Yeah.
Watch. So there you go. That's what's changed. They've just moved down 3 doors, or 2 doors. But there you go. Anyway, we'll go back to Brooksy's comment before. It was actually interesting. I know Andy. You go to Andy, as in Synthetic Andy. You go to music stores quite a bit, don't you? So, what's your experience been?
Yeah,
lately?
especially when I go to LA, I go to Sam Ash and Guitar Center in Hollywood, which are probably the better stores, but even they are lacking. The real problem with this whole thing, back when music stores were better and more brick and mortar stuff was common. At the end of the day, it's really the guys trying to get their numbers up for the week or for the day. They're not really interested in helping you. You just happen to meet some guys who maybe are friendly and maybe want to get their numbers up. But most of the guys, for years, this is going back to high school even, when I used to drool over synths I couldn't afford. They were never that great to begin with, even going way back then. But I didn't care because I was so happy about everything I saw and got to play with. And occasionally they give you the time of day if you ask them questions. But it's all down to, they're salesmen. They want to make, they want to not only keep their job, but they want to make, a nice bonus or whatever. And that's really what it's about. You don't often run to people who are really into it, to be into it, and to be helpful, sadly.
Yeah, quite right. Absolutely right, Andy.
I mean, certainly I remember having a very good experience in the York version of Music Ground, which Andy said about. But actually one of the best experiences I ever had, and this was probably about 7 or 8 years ago, was Sam Ash in New York. I just walked in. They realised I was a tourist. That was from England. And they were really, really helpful. They had me messing around with synths and I'm playing the piano that was in the window at one point. And the guys in there they knew they weren't going to sell me anything, because I wasn't a local, but they were really great, and it was a really, really good experience. Sorry? It was a good advert.
And now you're giving them a good advert.
Yeah, But there's definitely something lacking when you walk into somewhere like, the bigger music stores, and literally, I've been in music and Gear for Music several times, and I know some of the guys there, and you can walk around and nobody will speak to you.
I find that here too.
Absolutely.
That's definitely the case here as well.
Yeah.
Unless you walk up to a counter. So if you walk up to a counter, they'll serve you. But if you're just wandering around, I kind of feel though that we've kind of gone through any sort of retail, not just music. I kind of feel like we've gone through that stage where you've got that pestery salesperson going up, and if you walk straight through the door, they're, how you going? Anything I can do to help you? And you kind of feel like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't want that.
There is a balance, isn't there?
Yeah. So they've probably gone too far now, and they'll just let you. Can I sleep here the night? Because you haven't actually said a word to me, and I can probably just go and sleep in the corner. You probably wouldn't even let me.
I do know. I think
that would have happened.
Shop in York.
That would have happened here in Sheffield.
Probably would have.
I kind of feel that in York. It wasn't a music. Sorry.
There you go. Yeah, no, you go.
I was just going to say that there used to be a shop in York that I think it was a clothes shop actually, but this is back in the 90s. And Jane and I would try and get to the back of the store without the salesman talking to us, because you were literally, the minute you walked through the door, they would jump on you and go, can I help you? Can I help you? Can I help you? And we used to have this game where we try and get to the back of the store to where we really wanted to be before we could get approached by somebody.
Yeah. I mean,
I've
been to
the famous opposite version of that is you guys heard of Foot Locker before? The shoe store.
Yep, we've got them here. Yeah.
Oh, you do? Okay. So the great thing about Foot Locker is you could not go through there without being harassed endlessly because there's such pressure sales there. So, and they're in their little coach outfit, and the whole place is decorated like a basketball court or whatever. It's just a silly place, but you cannot get through there without being hassled many times.
Yeah.
Versus music stores where they couldn't give a rat's ass.
No. I mean, I go back to.
You need a
I go back
balance
to
between
when I
them,
bought my first synth. I actually bought it from a music store on the other side of Australia, and I still remember the exact conversation I had with the guy. Like it's one of those things. If you have a good experience, you'll hold on to those little tidbits. But I think if you have a bad experience, you'll probably punish the store, really, won't you?
Yeah.
Unfortunately for the store, and it might just be some pimply employee that's done it to you too, and it's not the owner of the store.
I mean, certainly when we employed staff, we didn't have any targets. What we would do with customers would just say hello to them, and then if you need anything, let us know. And do that approach really.
Kent's suggestion there, please don't try that at home. It might actually get you a stint in jail. I don't know what the laws are in your part of the world, but you generally, it's called shoplifting.
5 finger discount.
Yeah. They don't tend to like that. I find eurorack difficult to get help with. Not that I ask for help. But I kind of feel like if I was to ask someone about eurorack, and it probably would be a question that they would be like, I don't know, like every single time I walk in and buy a eurorack module from a store that sells eurorack modules, they don't know what they're looking for when you tell them what you want. And you actually know what you're looking for more than them. So like, for example, when I was buying the Behringer 2500 series modules, the guy would be going into this big display cupboard where all the eurorack modules are sitting in their boxes there, and he would be going for, is it this one? I mean, like, no, it's down 2 to the right, and that's the one there. And you go down 3 and get the wrong one, and no, it's not that one. Do you know what I mean? Like, he should know whatever it was, but he doesn't. And I don't blame him though, because there's so much to know and learn. But yeah, do you guys find that, or do you?
It's only like going into a PC world like now. I think if you can find a music store these days.
Yeah.
It's pretty sad. But I suppose a lot of people now just the young, they don't really want to go in the store. They'll just watch what they want on YouTube and go, "Yep, that's the thing for me. I'll just order it online." Get the synth and then go, I don't like it. I can't use it. So they don't go and browse for hours. Yeah, they don't go browsing for hours like they used to do. Playing on the synths and someone coming over, if they did, and you can ask them a few questions about it, and then they go, well, have you tried this instead? Because this might be better. Now it's just all, I can't say it because I do the same, because if it's got flashing lights, I'm buying a module, so there you go. I don't know whether it does anything or what it does, but I just... So I can't really criticise. I do exactly the same thing now. But it's only because there's no stores around, really, unless you're travelling for miles and miles and miles. At one time, you could, I'd only have to go into, like, Manchester, but now you've really got to look for the store. I mean, you spend the time on the internet looking for the store, and you end up just going, sack that, I might as well buy it off the internet. So,
Yeah.
All right. Now, I think we kind of went off on a little tangent there, but we need to go back because we need to talk about feedback modules. They've got a bunch of new modules that have come out. And
nice segue.
This is their CMS Lab collaboration. So feedback modules do their own modules, and CMS Labs like another developer engineer that works through them. So these are the bus things that Brooksy was talking about before. So you've got bus 1, bus 2, bus 3, and you can see the case diagram up above, how it kind of works. So let's have a quick look at these. These are pretty inexpensive. So basically, you can have your own bus modular matrix routing system inside your modular. So the whole idea of this is that you, someone like Eddie would probably like this, because I think he was talking about it when we did our ARP show. We were talking about the matrix of the 2500. So you can take these bus 1 modules, right? And you can get a few, I'll show you the bus 3s in a sec. And you connect them with the bus cables underneath, which you can see in these pictures below. Right, so these are the bus cables, okay? And basically that's how you can route things from A to B inside your case. You can also connect multiple cases together with this same idea. So they're just ribbon cables, right? So let's have a look at the bus 3. That gives you the, the attenuator switching. Sorry, not attenuator switching, the switching.
Yeah, switching.
I don't know if, I had a look at this and I kind of got a little bit confused with how that would work. I don't know if I would have done it that way. Do you know what I mean? Like, would you guys, I probably would have had toggle switches or something. I'm not sure. Or pins, or I don't know. Maybe that's actually that's quite clever though, isn't it?
There's an interesting one from Deptford as well, which uses, I think, what kind of a cable is it? Like those phone cables that you use for
RJ45s.
Thank you, Andy. You
network cables,
those, and then you plug it. And you plug one into one module, and then you plug the whatever cable it was that Andy just mentioned into the other module in your other rack, and it ports it all across. Again, just with one cable, which I thought was very neat and very elegant. So again, as it's something that's in here at the minute, how do I use 2 racks together? That's something I've been looking at.
Yeah, so give it a go. I mean, look, talk to me afterwards, Brooksy, okay? And I'll have a chat to you about that. So yeah, that's the new stuff from Feedback Modules. There's no video to show, but I'll probably see if I can try and get some of those in and show you guys how that works. Because I actually I'll email the guy. I actually want to try, and because I've got the 2500 stuff here, right? And I've got plenty of other 2500 modules sitting here. I actually want to try and see if I can kind of get like a little bit of, a pin matrix type thing that the 2500 had. I reckon that would be cool, because that would kind of give you a bit more of that sort of feel of that modular system that they had back in the day. And I just don't know about the switches, that's all. So yeah, because in the 2500 they did have switches, but they were vertical switches, weren't they? You'd pull them down. That's how they worked. Anyway, that is that. Got a few people in chatties that were kind of interested in those, so there you go. The price of that stuff is insanely cheap. Like, what are we talking about? 30 euros, 40, 29 euros, 39 euros, 39 euros.
They're good value.
That is very cheap. I mean, they're just passive modules, but that's pretty cheap. There we go. Right, we need to go to the next segment, which is boom, this one. People get angry if I don't do my segments. They do. They email me. Anyway, there you go.
Ouch.
Yeah. Oh, you can save some money. This is Australian dollars, so what are we talking about? £1,000 for Pamela's workout. What are they normally? About £300? £400? I don't know what they are normally, but that's yeah. This is in Tokyo though, so the Japanese do have that rarity problem over there, where sometimes things are hard to get. I don't know how hard they are. I mean, surely they could just order it and ship it over. Really, it can't be that hard, but it's definitely not 3 times the price hard, is it? Yes. But if you really are desperate for a black Pams,
get your black Sharpie pen out.
Yeah, get your black pen out.
Well, it's like the black Keystep Pro I bought. I had to buy that from Japan. They don't sell it in the US.
Oh.
Oh, really?
Oh.
There you go.
Yeah, no one carried it. I couldn't find anyone who carried it.
Whoa, drum machine just went
And it was
off.
like $50 more too.
Oberheim OBX8, right? These are brand new that you can get right now. But as you can see over from Sweetwater, you can get them for, $5,000 US. Or you could buy this one off Reverb for 8,000.
That will be avoiding the waiting list now, won't it? That's what that is.
That's what that
He's
is.
got
Exactly. Yep.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah,
That's exactly what it is.
One, and you can have it. I see. I think that whoever that person is a first-class bleeding idiot, because he should sit on that and sit on that. And I'll tell you what, in 12 months' time, or 13 months, or 24 months, whenever they stop making the OBX8, it will double in value automatically. It's the last of the great classics, undoubtedly. That is the last of the great classics.
Well, there's Dave Smith in that, isn't there? As well. It's
Dave
not
Smith
just
and Tom behind
it's
it,
just
the
not
same
Tom.
thing.
There's Dave in that.
No, absolutely, and that's what makes that machine particularly special. Which is why I wish I could.
I wish I could afford one as well. So to me, I want a profit, and I want an OBXA, and by the time I pay the money in Australia and have Australia tax on it,
oh no, it just becomes unbearable, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've probably skipped a couple of mortgage payments by the time I get to that sort of level. It's crazy. Right, what else have we got to do? Oh, that's right, we've got to do this segment, which hopefully you guys might remember.
Woo!
Yes, we are back with Name That Synth. Now, if you haven't ever seen this segment before, big hello to you. Yes, we are going to check out a synthesizer. Now, the visuals may be obscured, but the audio is pure, and that is what you're going to be putting all your sort of concentration on. And while you're doing that, you get to have a guess at what that synth is. And in the chat is where you put your guess. You only do one of them. And when you do that, you may actually win a prize. And the prize is from Plugin Guru. Let's quickly head on over to Plugin Guru's website and show you that. There is this button. You will get a copy of Unify and some packs as well come with it. So there's some really, really nice things that's coming out, the libraries and things. And there's one that he's just released, which is kind of like a stringy pad library. So Skippy brings out, John his name is, he brings out stuff all the time. Like, you should probably go and subscribe to his YouTube channel, because he has fairly regular shows on there too, and they're more popular than mine. And I'm not jealous, because they really are a good show, and he's actually quite talented. But anyway, let's get everything teed up, and hopefully everyone's ready to rock and roll. Now, no guesses as to who does this until the end, please. But I'm going to mute myself. I'm going to head on over. Just make sure the audio's working. Right. Who's ready? Everyone ready? Yep. Hands are crossed. Here we go. Yes, time's up. Time's up. Time's up. And I didn't mute myself that time. Yay. It's very, very high professional quality production here. How did we go? How did we go? We got lots of guesses.
I
now,
think they've got it.
Okay, so no more guesses after I said time was up in the chat, by the way. So those who have been talking about that, bad luck. Let me just tell you a little bit about who brought this one in. So this one was done again by Makeshifter, who's in the chat. And all the sounds, okay, so in his email, he said to me, all the sounds that the stock synth can produce, the synth has an inbuilt digital delay and choosing effects. What I might do is I'll reveal it, and I'll talk about this in a sec. Okay, let's reveal. Okay, here we go.
Well done. It wasn't a DW. Oh, the too. Oh,
yes.
Cool. Hard luck, Wags.
Yes. So the synth is modified, but none of the modifications were used in production of his Name That Synth recording. The synth was converted to a rack mount in the early 2000s. He's saying that it might be a bit controversial. The process was a bit nerve-wracking as it was a non-reversible modification to the synth, which is cool. And he also had some reservations about doing the mod. But for him, it was important for his workflow and for space constraints and time. So the modifications that he had done, and this is not related to the sounds that you heard, this is just so you guys may be interested. He had rotary encoders for data entry. He had firmware hack to fix up some of the MIDI mapping, like the filter cutoff and stuff. The front panel had pots for that as well. There was multifunctional test buttons and visual cues for programming and external inputs for the 12-bit digital delay module. So there you go. Now, who got it right is the question. Thanks to Chris, by the way.
There was a Poly 800 mentioned, but not a Poly 800 2.
802. It was Robbie got the Poly 800, but not the 2. I think it was the first.
Robbie got a Poly 800.
Well, I've got Querdenker as Poly 800.
Robbie got it before him. No one got the 2 though. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, the difference between the Poly 800 and the Poly 802 is actually, there is a difference. The 2 actually was much more features in it, wasn't there? So
it's a nicer sounding synth. Not
I've
as
never seen
shallow.
it too. Was it common?
Yes-ish.
I had the one, but
I think it was drowned out by the M1, wasn't it? Really, because when that came out, the M1 came out.
The original Poly 800 was common because it was just amazing at the time for the price of what you can do with it. The Poly 800 2 was just like an update which incorporated some of the interesting features of the DW8000, like the digital delay, and just improved the sound of the oscillators. And it was more of an update rather than a new synth all of itself, and I think it sort of got a bit lost. But the Poly 800 2 is actually a really nice sounding little synth, if you can find them.
Is it also DWGS like the 8000?
No, it's not.
Okay.
No, it's just the standards. So sawtooth and square wave, but you can still set the harmonic levels for each of the harmonics, like a drawbar organ thing.
I thought they had a better. See, even in the Vintage Synth Explorer that they don't talk about it, I thought they had a better digital to analog converter put in it.
I think
But they're not mentioning that.
I mean, it's a good. It's 4 years after the Poly 800, isn't it? That it comes out, so it is better. I mean, the Poly 800 original one, it's a great little synth, but it has more polish to it, and that digital delay that they built in really makes it sound so much nicer.
Yep. Also, they got Sysex too, because do you remember the Poly 800 had the tape system?
Oh yeah, yeah.
which was a real pain in the
Yeah,
ass.
yeah.
It did work, but it was a pain in the ass. I've got the EX800, which is the desktop module version of the Poly 800. And I actually had to repair the whole button interface on it because it all just failed. Because, I mean, they were built to a fairly cheap spec.
They were.
Yeah, they were cheap
They were
synths.
pretty plasticky. Yeah, they were plastic, weren't they?
Yeah. The buttons on the EX800 were these little sort of tactile push button things. And they had like if you pull them apart, they had this kind of plastic sort of shaft. And down the bottom was this little kind of concave copper disc in the bottom of it. And what would happen is the disc would get dirty and you would be push on these buttons and nothing would be happening. There'd be no like electrical connection to
Contact.
Yeah. So you have to go in and clean it with alcohol and that sort of stuff. But they eventually fail. They're not a very good design. It's you could probably replace that whole button system with something else and just rewire it. It would be probably last you another 50 years. Anyway, the Poly 800. So what should we do? How does Robbie feel? We should give Robbie a prize, I think. I think he was pretty close. We'll ask Chris. What do you want to do, Chris? It's your video. Do you reckon Robbie should get it? He got Poly 800. He was the first. There was someone else who got it as well. I think it's fair. Although, if you thought it was a Poly 800, why were you hearing digital delay? Because you're not allowed to use effects in Name That Synth unless the synth has it.
Ooh.
We'll ask him anyway. See what Chris says. Waiting for him. Makeshifter. You can choose. I'll ask him in chat. He's probably does.
It was
sale.
just spoke to him.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, we go.
he
There
said,
we go.
yeah,
There
one
we
last
go.
bloke.
Okay, Robbie. I think I've already got your contact details, but just send them to me anyway. You've got my email and all that sort of stuff. So I can pass that on to Plugin Guru. You got yourself a copy of Unify. If you've already got it, you may want to get it anyway because he gives you some libraries as well if you've already got Unify. So it's worth getting if you already got Unify. Just get the libraries from him. The VST libraries that he does. They're really, really, really good. Okay. He was behind on the stream. No problems. All right. So that's it for all the segments. We can bring our main topic back if you like. Which was synthesizer education. If you want to bring that back. What do the chatties end up sort of saying about synthesizer education? Let us know in chat. Like, it's probably a good question. Where did you first learn how to use a synth? How did you learn? Did you teach yourself? Did you have someone teach you? Did you go to a sort of like a audio engineering school and they taught you there? Did you go to a music store like Ian's music store and get taught there? Where did you learn? And do you think...
Or was it not on a sim?
Yeah, do you think the school should be teaching it? Cool.
Well, it's funny, like other people said, we use synths as pianos. The one and only piano class I ever took at the junior college, they had a whole giant room of DX7 Mark II FDs just used for piano. just to learn the basics,
like,
play folk songs and all kinds of stuff.
I had a visit to Korg Central down at Milton Keynes before the pandemic, and in one of their rooms there, they've got this great big MS-20, which was meant for the schools.
Oh yeah,
it was really, I think there was only two of them. There was one in America and one over here, I think. And the idea was that they went around schools and preached the gospel.
I think MS-20 would be kind of interesting to teach on, though, wouldn't it? Because I don't know if I would say it's the easiest.
Not easy, is it?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
I also bought
See
this
Mr.
not
Wiggly's
that long ago
comment.
because this I think I first saw it on Sonic State with Paulie when Paulie was on, and it was two
I
quid.
knew I'd seen it
2 quid
recently.
on, yeah, £2 on Amazon. It is absolutely brilliant. It's 1985.
Just hold it up again because it's just disappeared.
Sorry, yeah. Oops.
Right a bit. There you go.
Who's the author of that?
Right a bit.
Up a bit. Go up. Go up.
Doesn't say.
Okay.
It's Usborne is the man. Oh,
Osborne.
Philip Hawthorne. Philip Hawthorne is the writer. But it goes into an amazing amount of detail. I mean, it's obviously clearly aimed at kids, and somewhere in the back there's some program listings. You know, it's just. I mean, it covers an awful lot of stuff. Even stuff. You can't do it now, but a music program that you could run. I don't quite know it's on. It's meant to be on a Commodore 64 or a Spectrum, BBC, VIC-20. I remember the VIC-20 computer. So all those sort of really early 80s computers, and the idea was that you could write a little music program, and it's got a massive amount of detail. And what to be fair, we could do with something like this now that's up to date. You know. Aimed at kids.
It would be about 15 volumes, though, wouldn't it?
Well, would it? Would it really?
So we had.
If you're aiming at primary school,
We had some comments come through. Geez, what button is it? It's this one. There we go. These are just going to scroll through. These are some of the answers as to how did I learn. With synthesizers, and Lisa said via YouTube because her degree was rubbish, and I definitely don't think your degree was rubbish, Lisa. Some self-taught keyboard magazines about synth basics, and I took electronic music in college, said Sean. Awesome. And what else was there? There was Mr. Wiggly's comment. And Sean also said that he had some piano lessons. I had piano lessons when I was a kid. But that didn't teach me anything about synthesizers, other than the fact that I knew my way around a keyboard.
That helps, though.
It does help. Where's the Mr. Wiggly comment gone? I'm pretty sure I put that in there. No, obviously I didn't. He said, where's it gone? He learnt from a JX3P manual. I'm actually going to add it to the queue. It'll turn up.
Yeah, there are a lot of really good manuals that have, like, even the Novation X Station had a section on the synth on board. Real basic subtractive synthesis stuff, but it was pretty thorough for a beginner, and you could learn a whole boatload out of that little manual. So.
Yeah, I agree. I think some of the manuals, like especially in the 70s, like if you looked at the 2600 stuff, they were written really, really well. I think maybe they thought that was going to be like an educational synth anyway, so that the way that they wrote their manuals was quite. I learned a lot from reading that sort of stuff. I never owned a 2600, but I read one of the manuals years ago, and I learned a lot.
I found a set of the Roland manuals. I think it's System 100. They were hard to come by, and it was like a 5-volume set. I bought it on eBay like for $80 a long time ago. Quite nice, actually.
Yeah. What was the other book I got from? See, I had a Yamaha DX7 in the early days, and there was a book that I got. I've shown you guys it before. I've got it in the cupboard somewhere. Forget the guy who wrote it now. It was really, really, really well written, and yes, it did teach you. What was it?
Somebody howls again. We're back to Herbert Howells.
I can't remember the guy's name. I think.
Is it the Ferrotech books with the big print, the black covers and big print?
Yeah, Robbie will know. I don't think so, but I know anyway.
Because they made ones on sampling, they made ones on a bunch of different stuff.
Well, the Yamaha book itself was pretty good. The actual user manual was that thick, but the one that I've got now is DX7 too. So I actually can't remember what the original DX7 book looked like. I probably would have been similar, but the book I had was like quite thick. It was like that thick. And it taught you about FM synthesis, and that sort of stuff probably went way over my head back in the day. But some of the things that it taught you about the sonic stuff, I thought was really, really good. And I probably don't even realise the stuff that you read in those books. You've probably read thousands of books on synths and user manual stuff over the years. It all kind of combines into your greater knowledge, right? So it may not be one book, it may be the sum of all that's got you to where you are.
It's kind of fun too, those Welsh books, Welsh Manual of Synthesis or whatever, there's 2 volumes, and they involve using audio tools to take apart synth sounds and how to reconstruct them. It's pretty clever.
Yeah.
Have you seen those before? The Welsh manuals are on eBay and stuff?
Yep, the Welsh manuals. What's his name? The synthesizer book guy. I keep forgetting his name now.
Howard Massey. That was his name, Robbie.
Howard Massey. Yeah, Howard Massey was the guy.
Complete DX7 by Howard Massey.
There it is. That's the one. So that book was one of the early books that I got. And it was good. So yeah, it didn't teach me really how to be brilliant on an FM synth. But I kind of struggle with that, but that's okay. But there was definitely parts of that book that taught me a lot. So it's not that one book on its own, buddy. There was, as I said, there was 2600 stuff. There was some of the, like you said, Andy, some of the early Roland books were good too. Like when you start working around with MIDI, right? When you first start playing with MIDI, one of the first things that you're going to find is it's going to do your head in. So you go to the back of those user manuals and they have the MIDI implementation charts, right? Which looks like complete programmer's nightmare, right? But I actually thought Roland's MIDI implementation was quite easy to understand. I don't know, it's just the way my brain works, but I actually learnt a lot from that. And I've even tried to explain it in some videos that I've done over the years. Sorry, Brooksy, what were you saying?
I was just going to say, I think we've forgotten a major source of education in terms of the way all this stuff works. Particularly before I even had any kind of MIDI system, I understood in a lot of detail how MIDI worked. The idea of 16 channels, each synth set to its own channel, one thing to transmit on a channel to. I understood it. And why? Because I'd read loads about it in Electronics and Music Maker, Music Technology Magazine, and Sound on Sound. Those three, and then a little bit later on, Future Music comes in. But it's essentially Electronics and Music Maker and Sound on Sound, and Electronics and Music Maker then became Music Technology Magazine. And they had sections on. They had pages of sections. Oh, I've got a Poly 800. I'll program that in, and you'd program the patch in with all the parameters. Yeah. And by doing so, you'd learn what you were doing, and then there were things explaining how this works or how that works. I loved that, and it was very, very valuable. But particularly the thing, I think it was called something like MIDI notes or something like that in Sound on Sound.
Yeah, really I remember that one. And they had a CD. With MIDI files on it.
Had a CD.
Which I'm sure it did.
Future Music did.
Future Music did? Or was it a floppy disk?
Yeah.
One of them had a floppy disk or a CD.
There was just a section at the back, towards the back of it, after you got through all the main articles, and it was all about, and it would look on, and it would tell you about using CC messages. It would tell you about using SysX. It would tell you, and that I think Gordon Reed had something to do with that. I think he had a part in writing those. Again, Robbie would be able to tell us about. They were really helpful in understanding. So by the time I'd actually got a drum machine, a TX-81Z, and an Atari ST, I knew in theory what I needed to do with them to make them work, and that came nearly exclusively from those magazines.
Yeah, that's a good point. Definitely, I forgot about the magazines. There you go. Look at that. Welsh's.
There's the Welsh book.
That's the one. Yeah. Comes with a CD.
There's a red one too. There's a red cover one.
It's
a different volume.
If you don't have that, you should definitely get yourself a copy of that. It's really it's worth it.
It's 2006, but it's still so relevant. I mean, I bought it when it first came out, and it's absolutely brilliant.
I'm trying to think of the name of the other guy now. There's another guy. He's actually on my Facebook. I'm having a terrible memory day today. He's on my Facebook.
The Keyboard Magazine used to be great. In fact, Bob
He's
Moog
American
for years
too.
wrote articles for it, and they published a book of all of Bob Moog's articles from Keyboard Magazine.
Yeah, I've got another one. In fact, I've got another book upstairs, which is I think might be from. Anyway, go find it.
Yeah, it's all the reprints. And of course, Craig Anderton's Electronic Musician magazine was excellent.
But just listen to ourselves, right? So I'm just trying to catch this because I'm trying to sort of superiorly analyze everyone's thoughts here. But it's basically just a scatter of information over many different forums that we have learned synthesizers from, right? And in the old days, you didn't have the internet either. I mean, it's a lot easier now with YouTube videos and downloadable PDFs and things like that, right? In the old days, like Brooksy was correct in saying, those magazines were pretty much our internet of the day, weren't they? They were the ones that delivered the concise information. They had the CDs and the floppy disks on the front cover that you could pull off and stick them in your computer. I remember someone said it was a DVD-ROM on the Future
Rock School. Yeah, well done, Robbie. Remember that? Rock School. Oh, my word.
I don't remember.
What a great series that was.
I don't remember that.
I think they're all up on YouTube. Check out BBC's Rock School.
Rock School's great. We got it over here. Yeah, it was great. Excellent.
Yeah, I don't think we've got that. Yeah. What's that one?
That's how to program any synthesizer.
Yes. Yeah.
I didn't get that. I think it's a collection of magazine articles that was being put into a book. I've not had it that long actually, but it's by Ashley Hewitt. It came out in 2018, and of course, from a history point of view, that is brilliant.
Good.
Yeah, that is superb.
Who wrote that one?
That's Mark Vail.
Mark Vail.
Mark Vail was the name I was. Mark Vail was the name I was trying to think of. Yeah, Mark Vail. Well done.
Who you hunting about?
Yep, that's the one. Because there was something about him recently, and I'm just trying to think what it was. He came across the news recently, Mark Vail. It was definitely something to do with someone dying in the music industry, and he had some sort of major connection to that person, and it was basically an influence to his authoring, you know.
Well, was it not Dave Smith?
It might have been. Or it might have been Vangelis. I don't know. There was some sort of... I don't think it was Dave Smith. Could have been anyway.
Rob Hordyke. Oh, yeah. Native Yes said Rob Hordyke. Vangelis.
Yeah.
He's gone. No.
Yeah. Anyway. But yeah, Mark's awesome. And he still gets about and, you know, talks quite openly, and I'm sure he's on quite a lot of your friends' lists. If he's not already, you should add him as a friend. He's quite an approachable guy. He's definitely got a lot of knowledge, that's for sure. So big shout out to Mark if he's around, because I know he watches our channels. So he's still, like, you know, one of the biggest synthesizer geeks out there, and he's very, very fond of being one. So it's a cool thing to be. So yeah, what do you guys think? Do you reckon we should?
Synthesizer's really good. That's a good one to check out.
Yes. Yeah.
And also don't forget the Buick stuff. Of course, everyone's talking about Buicks all the time. They're excellent. Patch and Tweak.
Wagoo's just put that in the chat.
Yeah. Saw the Buicks.
Patch and Tweak's a good book. Yeah.
Yep. So the question here is: do you think we should ask our schools, ask our universities, what are they doing about learning synthesizers? Are synthesizers now? Are they? You know, are we an outlier? Are they not considered to be an instrument in the music industry? Because surely they are by now. Surely.
I think at university level, it's okay. You know, it's well covered at university level. I'm not so sure about at further education level. I don't know what it's called in Australia, but we have primary, secondary,
like a college TAFE
primary,
thing,
secondary. Yeah, it's college education. I mean, there are music technology courses. It's interesting because a friend of mine ran what was called the Access to Music School in York, and sadly they're sort of like privately owned, but they run like diplomas, so it's that sort of college level.
Yeah.
And the one in York has closed this summer,
That's a shame.
Due to funding. So I think the nearest one now is Manchester. So if you want to go and do a diploma in music, there's other options. FE colleges will have it, but it was sort of such a shame that Manchester. Yeah.
So in the US, they've got Berkeley, right? Berkeley School of Music, and they actually have an electronic music producers.
That's where BT went.
Yeah, it's literally a degree that you can do for electronic music, and they teach you. They actually got a really good YouTube channel too. They actually teach you, synthesis, both additive, subtractive, FM. They teach you all of that there. They teach you things about programming, drum machine sequencing. It's literally, it would be just a dream degree to do if you were, that's what you wanted to do. But then again, what's the career path that you're looking for is the question.
Yeah.
I actually found out by accident when I went to UC Santa Cruz that they had a decent electronic music program there. And the guy there built a giant wall of modular, custom made, all around this huge room.
Yep.
And then he had the same shit at home because I ended up knowing his wife through another job I had. And he invited me over sometime to check it out. And it was like a carbon copy of what he had at the university in his house.
Yeah.
And I've never seen anything like this. It was nuts.
Yeah, it's kind of along the lines of the of Martin Gore's wall of Eurorack thing that he's got. Have you guys seen the photos of that?
This guy made these. He didn't buy them. He put them
made
together.
them. Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I've seen that. Yes, I have seen that.
Crazy.
Yeah, that is cool. So they're kind of unique. Yeah, I've seen that. It reminded me of Sam. What's his name? What's his YouTube name? Look, Mum, no computer.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Battle.
Yeah. Do you guys know about the MIT open course software? Open course materials program. It's been running for at least, I think, 10 years. I've just gone onto it now, and there are undergraduate course materials in music and technology, algorithmic and generative music, and a whole host of stuff. Now, granted, you don't get the course, but you could view the course materials free. So it's quite an interesting. If you want to just go and have a look, I think the reason they did it is so that they think some people may want to go and actually study the course, either in person or via distance learning means, because but there's a whole host of music and technology.
Some universities in the US do that. I think Stanford do that. So you could learn cryptography. You won't ever get the qualification, but you can actually do the whole course.
No, but yeah, exactly.
But I don't think Berkeley do, which is kind of a shame because we'd like to learn some of the stuff that they do some things.
Yeah, I did a short course with Berkeley, which was free. It was one of these what I call a MOOC, which is an open course. Can't remember what the acronym means, and it was on sound design, and it was just like a 6-week online course, and then you could do the whole course, and it's peer reviewed, all that sort of stuff. But if you wanted the certificate, you had to pay, I don't know, $100 or whatever it was, which I never bothered with. But actually, I did the course, and so they sometimes do that type of thing.
Yeah.
I can't remember which platform that was on, because they ran it through as one of these sort of online platforms.
Yeah, it's like an open. Like an open platform, open education or something. Yeah, I can't remember it. I think I know exactly what you're talking about. I just can't put my finger on it. I get the Berkeley emails as well. They're very clever. Finding out who is in the music industry. Berkeley are.
Well, once you've done one of them MOOC type courses, you're automatically on their mailing list.
Absolutely. The guys in chat are talking about SAE. We have SAE down here in Australia as well. They're the audio engineering like institute type thing, and they do things. I think they were predominantly more to do with audio engineers and getting people through like a college level diploma or something like that as audio engineers. But I believe in some places in the world they also dabble in the synthesizer side of things and that. I don't know if they do that in Australia though. So Kent. Okay, so there's universities
Hence the
here
synth.
in my city. According to Makeshift, there's universities here that do sound design and electronic music. Cool. Look, if you do live in my city, which is in Western Australia, there is actually a university called the West Australian Performing Arts, or WAPA they call it. And when I did my undergraduate computer science degree, I went over there and helped them with some IT stuff at one stage, and the guy that was in charge of their electronic music department, so they actually do teach electronic music over there, he had a Korg M3 and he didn't know how to use it. So he got me, because I had one, and he got me to help him use it and muck around with it. But yeah, so WAPPA I think it is, and they're part of one of the major universities here. So in your local, I'm sure there's like university, like they said, university level, that's probably a little bit more prevalent in getting into that sort of education. But I don't think it's that prevalent in the sort of junior and high school type education. That was kind of my point, and that was kind of why the topic emerged today.
Well, my friend used to work at Guitar Center Pro, and he would sell the really expensive stuff to these rich guys who came in and just want to buy shit, right? So the guy wanted to buy an Oasis at the drop of a hat. No problem. Hey, I want to buy this, buy that. Get it delivered to his house, and go, hey, I don't know how to use this thing. So because my friend is GC Pro and not the normal Guitar Center, he would actually go out to the guy's house and help him with the stuff. Even though he's a total jerk and just a rich guy throwing money around, he actually had to train some of these guys with the stuff they bought because they had no idea what they were doing. It's very funny.
Did he get paid for that?
Yeah, it's part of his GC Pro thing. So he probably got overtime or comp days or something. But
Right. Okay. Part of his job.
But he dealt mostly with big bands like Metallica and other kinds of stuff like that. But occasionally get some rich guy who just wanted to buy whatever and they want to cater to him. And like Kent was saying, they don't know how to use anything. So he had to go out and train him how to use this crazy, pretty elaborate machine. The Oasis is, there's a lot going on there. So,
yeah,
pretty funny.
To me, that has to be prevalent, surely. I mean, like, if you get something, I get so many questions on my YouTube channel about any video that I've ever put up. I get people asking me questions that are tech support type questions. And you think, hang on a minute, why are you not asking the manufacturer? Like, why are you asking me? I don't mind answering, by the way. But I'm sure like music stores would get inundated with that stuff. Surely they would, if I'm getting them on a YouTube channel, surely they would get. If you buy like a JDXI and the next thing you know, you get a phone call the next day and the guy can't work out how to hook it up to his DAW or something like that, I
mean, I think here, and this is from obviously past experience, that certain people feel rather intimidated by asking those questions in a music store because they might be considered to be foolish. Whereas, you can be to some extent anonymous by doing it online.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, and that's a problem for music retail, really. I remember people coming into us and saying, I've never, I don't normally go in music shops because, I might feel foolish, which, you try and break down those barriers, but, clearly that doesn't always happen. It's certain, certainly the biggest.
Do you offer that service, Ian? Do you actually charge people and do like a training thing?
No, I mean, our business now is all online. So people sometimes phone me up and I'm happy to answer questions on whatever. I mean, certainly through the YouTube channel, I answer quite a few questions, not only about synths, but about guitar setups. I mean, one guy sent me a message the other day, said, thanks very much for your university course on setting up a Gibson SG, which was quite sweet of him, really. So I'm happy to do that sort of stuff, but that's not, when we had the shop, the bricks and mortar shop, people would come in and ask questions, and I'm always happy to deal with that, and just, I remember giving a guy a sort of 40-minute tutorial on how to use I think was it the Korg Odyssey? Anyway, a particular synth that he came in, and he rang up and said, "Can I come and pick your brains?" I went, "Yeah, of course you can," And he did eventually buy one. He took him 3 visits, but that's cool. We don't mind that, So,
but it's probably good. It's probably good customer service too, right?
It is.
Yeah.
But certainly more music shops, and I'm sure there probably are music shops out there that do that. They're probably going to be the more smaller shops, I would have thought. And certainly you probably see a lot more from the guitar type shops. We were a general music shop in the sense that we sold everything, but certainly there's more work to be done certainly here in the UK.
Yeah, I'll give you guys an idea of like some of the questions I get. So I did a video a few years ago on upgrading the memory on an Akai MPC 1000. And I get a guy asking me, how much more sample time do I get by upgrading my memory? It's actually written in the user manual. So I just politely just copied and pasted the user manual entry.
Just the
and
RTFM.
Told him what page it was on. And what was the other one I got that was quite funny? So I did this video where I was talking about how frustratingly annoying it is to upgrade the firmware on a Korg Volca, right? Because you've got to use those stupid like audio cables and play it through your mobile phone or your iPad or whatever it is. Yeah. And anyone who's done a firmware upgrade, you guys are all nodding, so So this guy, he writes back to me and he was telling me his whole story of how he bought the Korg Volca new bass, and he was trying to upgrade the firmware on it, and it went into some sort of update mode. He thought he'd bricked it. He was ringing the store. They were saying, bring it in. Then he managed to get it to work eventually. And it was like this big, huge, convoluted story. And I kind of felt for him because I went through my exact same process where I was trying to upgrade a Volca, and I was using an Android phone, and then I was using an iPhone and an iPad, and no matter what I tried, it wouldn't work. And eventually I used this laptop and turned the volume down, and it worked to about half or something. And it was like very precarious that you had to do. It was almost like, if it was too loud or if it was too quiet, it would give you some sort of data error. So, these are the sort of things that I get, and they're kind of, in a way, they're kind of tech support questions. But just thinking, just a small little channel that I've got on YouTube, just imagine like someone working at Guitar Center in the US or Sweetwater or Gear for Music, there would be so many people with so many questions, like literally burdening those businesses. And the manufacturers probably don't get half of it directed straight back to them.
I think, from a Korg point of view, they don't. And, Korg put out a whole load of videos this week about using the Nautilus, which is fair enough, but they should do more of those sort of, how to upgrade this, how to upgrade that. It's one video, isn't it? It probably takes 10 minutes for them to show it, and I know that some companies do better than others, but certainly I think Korg could do more in that field. When you actually speak to their service guys, they're brilliant. I've had sort of emails backwards and forwards about certain issues over the years, and they're always really, really helpful. But they're talking to another dealer, so they don't talk to the public, and they could do that in a video. So you want to know how? I updated the TRS-8, and I'd forgotten how to do it, so I quick look at a video, and there's plenty of videos out there, but not always for the things.
That's why I started my YouTube channel. That was literally the reason why I started my YouTube, because I would do something and I thought, shit, if I worked this out and the manual didn't help me at all, I just record a video, probably originally, just in case I have to go back and do it again. I've just go back to my channel and rewatch my video, and I've done that a few times with some stuff. My own videos help me remember how to do stuff that I haven't touched for 3 or 4 years. Because some things are so convoluted.
I did a series of videos on the Op6 when I first got it, and about upgrading the firmware and stuff like that. And clearly there is still an issue with using M1 and M2 Max and upgrading the software, because again, a guy, and I then did a follow-up video which doesn't seem to always get picked up, because I spoke to the guys at Korg, they gave me some instructions, I then did a video on it, And a guy contacted me, I think it was last week, and said that I'm still having problems with mine. I pointed him to the video, and hopefully that sorted it. So, you know, there are clearly still things going on with things like the Op6. It's worth also mentioning, I think it was on, I said this on Kent's show the other night, but some people think the Op6, the Wave State, and the Mod Wave are discontinued. They are not. Because somebody had posted something somewhere about, you know, the fact that as far as they were concerned, they were gone. They're not. Korg UK have got plenty of stock, and I've just signed a new dealer contract, and part of that contract is to stock that thing over there, you know. So it's, you know, if you want to go and buy an Op6 or a Wave State, go buy them, because they're, you know, they're still current, and they're not going to be discontinued anytime soon. Oops. My lights have just gone.
Oh, the synth that I still really, really like that Korg make is the Minilog, the Minilog X. Is it XL? Minilog XL.
XL.
Yeah. So that's the one with the digital oscillator that you can upload your own wavetable stuff to. Yeah. Because the actual Minilog itself, which I've got behind me there, that's above my head there. It was one of my absolute favourite synths when it first came out, and I know it's been in so many of my records that I've made. It just has a really, really nice sound about it, and when they added that digital oscillator, it kind of brought me back to the DW 8000, you know, sort of, you know, world. It's nothing like a DW 8000, you know what I mean? But
no,
the fact that you can do wavetable stuff and bring it through an analog filter, and it's just magic. It's an absolutely magic synth. And I'm just XD, not XL, XD.
XD.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm surprised.
I'm surprised they don't sell more of them. They are a magic synth.
I had it in here for, well, probably 8 months, and I should probably buy another one at some point if I had space for it. I loved the XD. I thought it was great. Yeah. Now, it's interesting, when they brought the XD out, I fully expected Korg to discontinue the original Minilog, and they haven't. No. It's still a current model, you know. So it's clearly they're selling enough, and it's different enough, you know. But no, I really liked the XD. I thought it was a superb synth, you know.
I actually had a workaround. I had the original Minilog, but I got the NTS1, which basically gives you the part that's missing that's in the XD. It's just not routed in through the keyboard the same way, but you can work around and get kind of a similar approach by putting those two together.
Yeah. So I was going to sell my Minilog and buy the XD because it's essentially the same thing. And actually, is it though? Is there anything missing on the XD?
No beats to the video.
I thought there might have been something missing on it. Yeah. So I ended up keeping.
I've seen that, and I've not compared them.
But the only reason why I ended up keeping it was because I used the Minilog on so many different tracks that I made, and if I ever needed to like re-record something, if you know, it was that sort of reason. But yeah, the Minilog XD that I've got is a module, and the Minilog is the keyboard version. And I definitely made the choice of not getting the keyboard again. Sorry, what was that, Andy?
Yeah, it's a bad keybed. It's a bad keybed on both of those. I'm probably going to get the module at some point.
Get the module. The XD module is awesome. It's not set up in here. It's over there.
And it has a proper joystick instead of that weird slider.
That weird slider thing that's completely useless. Yeah, that was a bad design. Yeah. But the MIDI implementation, you connect a proper MIDI keyboard up to a Minilog, it's completely fine. So, you know, it's one of the good things about it.
It's all those modulation lanes. It's a very clever system.
Yeah. I just like the one. I mean, it was what's the guy's name? Tata, whatever his name is, the guy that invented the Minilog, the Korg guy. He's not like Korg anymore. Tatasui or something. Tatamudi. I don't know.
See the guy that's gone to Behringer.
You're talking about
Tayo
Yamada. Is it Tayo Yamada?
We called him Tats as a nickname because we couldn't remember how to say his name. Sorry, I do apologise. Tatsuya, that's it. Tatsuya. Yeah, that's it. Thanks, Magoo. So for me, that was like, he kind of went down this journey with the Volcas, right? And the Monotron and all that sort of stuff. He had that little journey with the analog, circuits and learning that. And I felt the Minilog was kind of his bigger project that was a combination of what he'd learnt from those circuit designs. If you're thinking it from an engineered design thing, that's the journey that he went with the Volcas and the Monotrons and that. And then the Minilog was kind of like, one of the big end results. And the Prolog came out after that, and the XD came out after that as well. So, yeah, I just think if no one has ever tried a Minilog or a Minilog XD out, they should go try one out. They are really, really good synth. The patch management library is free on it too, so you can literally just download it from Korg's website, and you can create your own patches on the synth, and then you can save them back through the patch management librarian thing. And it's really easy to get patches backwards and forwards from your synth. It's also, they did the firmware update and they actually opened up extra patch memory on it too, I think. They doubled the patch memory. It went from like having only 100 and something to 200 and something or something like that. It doubled it.
Yeah, there was something like that.
Yeah,
rings a bell.
which was handy, which was really handy, because I always found I used to run out of patch memory on it, on the original version. So, yeah. Right. Tats left Korg for a while. Red Bull stuff. Yeah, what was the deal with that? I never understood what the Red Bull stuff was. And he's back as head of Korg in Germany. Yeah, that's what I didn't think he went to Behringer. He's working for Korg in Germany. Yeah, that is correct. I remember that. Yeah, I wonder what he's doing there though. What are they doing in Germany? Ian, do you know anything? Can you tell us any sort of inside knowledge?
No,
you're probably
actually,
signing
I don't
NDAs.
know anything. No. I've never signed an NDA with Korg, but I mean, I genuinely don't know. I didn't know he was there actually. Granted, I haven't spoken to anybody from Korg for about 6 weeks or 8 weeks. It's all been done by email. So it's when Adam, my area rep, comes down that I tend to find stuff when he comes for a cup of tea. I know nothing, sadly.
Did he have anything to do with the 700 reissue? Maybe.
Yes, I think he did, because didn't he do some videos on that? I think I'm half expecting Korg to. This is completely my own invention, but I think they may bring out a 700 that's mini keyed and cheaper. I could see that happening. I know that they did it with the 2600. I was less than slightly complimentary about the 700 FS, because the version, when I had it and I had the prototype, the software wasn't right. There wasn't any software. There was absolutely no information. They could give me no information about how it was going to be. So when Jamie at Geosynths did his review, his is the review that's really, really accurate, because he took it from a music shop. It was the final version.
Yep.
So I wasn't that complimentary for 1,700 quid in terms of what it was. I also thought that some of the plastic knobs, which one of them broke off when I did it, should have been slightly better built, really. The case and all that's really nice, but actually, to hell with the case. I'd rather pay less for it.
Wasn't there was similar sort of mixed opinions about the way they did the 2600 too, wasn't there, with the quality? Because it was supposed to be an authentic reissue, the full size one I'm talking about, not the mini.
Yeah.
And there were some people saying that they weren't that happy with the quality of it for the price, that is, and they were sort of talking about, well, you might as well just gone and got a Behringer one, and whether that sounded the same, and arguments aside, but I see that's the thing that would really peeve me, because I was pretty big when you guys, Brooks, you would remember when we first started talking about Korg releasing the 2600. I was going off my nut about it because I love the 2600, and I gave them a lot of free press as a result of that. But then I'm hearing that some people were very disappointed with the quality of the build. And then I'm hearing the opposite. I'm hearing some people were very happy with it. So which one do you?
Well, the
Which one do
2600
you
felt really
believe?
good at NAMM 2020, but maybe it was wear and tear. Maybe it's not durable. But out
Yeah.
of the box, it feels great.
Yeah. I think I can remember one of the YouTubers getting one and it was in a broken box and there was some damage to it or something. And
Mark Doty got one with a broken case. It was hit by the forklift or whatever.
Yeah.
oh, was
The
that
designer
Mark?
case
Was
that
it?
it comes with had a gouge in it. So
Yeah, that would really annoy you.
Yeah, Wagyu's saying that Drumlog presumably uses components that have dried up. Really?
What is
That's why I haven't
Drumlog?
heard anything about that.
What's happening with Drumlog?
The Korg analog drum machine, isn't there? that they were planning.
It's
Well, it never happened, did it?
it's never happened. I last asked about that probably about a year ago, and I know that I was told don't expect it till the earliest 2023.
But that's probably
So
chip stuff, isn't it?
We may never see it.
That's could be the chip stuff.
It will be. It probably will
Yeah.
be chip stuff. I mean, I was slightly peeved when they launched the NTS2 with the free book, which we have on back order, and we've had on back order since they launched it, and nobody's had them in the UK. The only people that have had them are the YouTubers.
Yeah.
God, what's happening with that?
Oh,
that's the oscilloscope one. Is that the?
That's the oscilloscope one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That's why we did. That's why we did the fish and chip joke last week, not week before. Sorry, because it was literally, that is probably going to be the synthesizer world's biggest Achilles heel right now is the chip shortage.
Yeah. And I do know that Korg UK, I think they must get some frustration when the stuff is launched from Korg Japan, and they know full well that we're not going to get any stock for months. Which which I have to say is a Behringer trick, isn't it? Behringer do this all the time. But, I know that Korg UK would much prefer to sort of them launch a product and then turn around and say, oh, well, you'll be able to get it in a month's time. A month is not long to wait for a new product, but when it's, by the time it comes out, people have forgotten about it.
Yeah.
But hey,
I don't know. I kind of feel like there's all these really cool Korg products, and I kind of feel like sometimes they miss a trick because they need to overlap some of them. Like that's why I talked about the Minilog as an example. When they brought the XD out, they definitely didn't miss a trick with that because that was a really, really good idea. But when we were talking about the OP6, the Wave, and the Mod Wave, right? Those three, I kind of felt like, well, probably more the Mod Wave. We talked about this before, haven't we, Brooksy? Where we kind of felt that maybe they should have given it a bit more of a DW8000 feel to it, and put some analog filters in or something like that. Because they definitely have the circuits to do it. They could have put the Minilog filters in. They could have put the 2600 filters in. They could have put the 700 filters in.
I tried that one.
What was that?
The Mod Wave is a lot of fun to play with, though. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it doesn't sound anything like a DW8000 though. I mean, I loved my DW8000 because I've had a 6000 and an 8000, and when I was first told about it, I thought, right, I'm going to have one of them for the studio because I'd sold my DW8000 by that time. And when I played it, I thought, actually, this is great, but it's not an 8000. So that's why there isn't one here. There isn't one here.
It's not grungy enough, right? So.
Exactly, it isn't.
The only thing that stopped me from getting an 8000 was the fact that I had an ESQ1. And when you guys look at that, you probably think, hang on, they're different synths. But really, they competed in that sort of, digital oscillation creation going through analog sort of signal path. And I mean, they both lead two different beasts to play as well. But I kind of feel like I didn't need both. That was it.
No.
But I really do think that Korg should do something like that again, like a reminiscent type synth of, like they did with the 700.
Yeah.
Redo the DSS-1.
No, please let's not. Produce a DW8000 with knobs on it. Thanks.
The guys in the chat are getting hungry. They're all talking.
Oh.
Is that you, Darren? Are you talking about fish and chips or
Mushy
something?
peas.
It was. You mentioned
I
fish and
didn't
chips,
bring-
and then
I
Ben
didn't bring
mentioned
fish and
it.
chips, but it was Ben that brought it up.
No, it was Ben Breslin. Ben
Oh,
did.
good on you, Ben.
And I was.
Scampi
Yeah,
fries.
a plate of fish and chips. No, proper fish and chips.
But yeah, I do
Hey, I'll
fancy
tell you-
some fish and chips.
At the Blackpool EMOM, I had fish and chips. We sat there. It was me and Dave Walker, MHO, backwards. And
Kebab and
we went
salad.
on fish and chips. And honestly, it was delicious. It was so nice. There's something lovely about having fish and chips just sitting on the seafront, getting mobbed by seagulls. It's lovely. It's great. Yeah, fish and chips now, Ben. Oh, you've set us off.
Everyone's going to
looking forward
write. Well, so the thing in Australia, we don't have the curry. You know how you get your chips and you can have your chips in curry.
You don't have. To
We
put
don't have
curry
that
sauce
here.
on it. I mean, what a
We-
stupid idea.
We have gravy.
Just get chips
Well,
on
you
it.
don't have gravy on your chips. You ask for chips and gravy as a thing,
can get
right?
chips.
Yeah. But most chippies here, which are run by nowadays, they're actually run by like Asian families here in Australia because that's what's happened. They just do just chips, and if you want salt and vinegar on it, that's it, and you get your battered fish,
As it should be.
and that's it. You take that home and eat it, or take it down to the
Can we wrap
down
up
at the
now,
beach.
Rand? Because I really want to.
Yeah, we are going to wrap up.
Because I see Kent has just said you've got to go north of Leeds for the
Raptor
best fish
open.
and chips. And he's right.
You got to go to Leeds.
No, north of Leeds.
North.
The best
Hey, I
fish
tell you
and
what.
chips.
Oh, Papa's in Cleethorpes. If you haven't been, take a trip to Cleethorpes and go to Papa's. It's a little pier, and Papa's there is absolutely fantastic. It's the old pier. The ballroom's all been done out. It's all got tables. It's delightful. It's so nice. So everyone, go and have a trip to Cleethorpes and go to Papa's on the pier and tell them that Andy sent you, so I can have a freebie next time.
There's
I go.
nothing else in
Or
Cleethorpes.
my
though, is
favourite
there?
place is
No, there isn't.
it is Iceland,
Say-
right in the harbour.
What's
Proper Icelandic
Where?
fish and chips in Iceland in Reykjavik. There's a really nice fish and
Oh,
chip.
right,
Sort of,
okay.
it's almost a restaurant now, and that's literally as the harbour
Just
in
get off the
right on
boat
the edge of
to
the
do
harbour,
it, yeah.
and it comes off the boat straight into you. Yeah, it's gorgeous.
The only fish and chip shop that I can remember having in England, I mean, I probably had it at tons of other places, was down in Brighton, because that was kind of the thing, to do. You go to Brighton, you have fish and chips, you go down to the beach. And you guys would probably all know the one I'm talking about. It's kind of near the pier thing.
no?
It's not like far from
If
it.
you want proper fish and chips, you've got to go. They just don't do it right in the south. It's soggy and horrible. Go north.
It wasn't soggy.
You got to come north. We'll take
It was not
rubbish.
soggy.
You got to come to the north. You got to go to Harry Ramsden's, or you've got to go to
Harry
Papa's on
Ramsden's or
pier.
the
We'll
fish
take
pan
proper
in
fish and
Scarborough.
Fish pan in Scarborough. Here we go. Sorry, all those people in the south of England. We've just
Yeah,
upset them.
yes,
Do
exactly.
you guys have
Right.
lobster rolls over there? Is it?
Lobster rolls?
Obviously,
No.
we can't afford those. We're all poor.
No.
Yeah.
I did have a deep
It's a
fried
fast
bar
food.
salad
Further
with
north you
Edinburgh.
get.
They scream when you boil them, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Steam escaping in.
Get that in your memories.
I
I just remember going to
next week.
Merseyside and getting
Three northerners. There.
fish and chips. Merseyside fish and chips was good too. I remember that.
North Wales, I like North Wales fish.
Yeah.
and
So
chips.
that counts as north. It's got the word north in it. You see, Darren.
Okay.
Exactly.
I always
Yeah.
actually Wagoo's
once
just
you
said
get
it.
above
I think-
Birmingham,
Yeah, sound like an
Wagoo's
episode
just
of
said
Game
like
of
the
Thrones.
American chip spice. Wagoo just said it like the American chip spice that they have in Hull. They've got it in York as well because I like the American chip spice.
Oh, I know
talking
what they're
Old
talking
Bay?
about. Yeah. Have you
Yeah,
guys
it's
have you
like,
guys seen that? That
paprika.
yeah. Have you guys seen that
Yeah, it's like
fad?
Old Bay. Old Bay.
The fad with chicken salt. Have you guys heard of that? The fad with chicken salt. I'll have to send you guys like a little shaker sort of bottle of chicken salt. You guys can try it out next time you go and buy some chips from somewhere. It's something you will never look at chips the same again. Well, it kind
We
of
have
is a
chicken in a
salt and
biscuit
chicken
here.
stock. Yeah, it is kind of. But you can probably get it in your local shop. It's a well-known brand like Master Foods or something like that that sell it. Anyway, we're going to wrap the show up because it's turned into a cooking show again, and everyone probably wants to rush out and buy fish and chips now.
Oh yeah, sorry, I've
Next
just
time
upset
I'll
Dom
come.
as well. He's telling us there's great fish and chips in West Sussex. Oh. It's not in the north, though. It's not in the north.
Look at you healthy people eating fish and chips. Hey?
Yeah.
Hey?
I hardly ever have fish and chips. I
Go
hardly
the
ever eat
arteries.
Fish and chips, every now and again. I'm going to tonight.
Yeah.
I haven't had it for 30 years. So
Thanks, Ben.
Yeah.
You don't really get it in the US though that much, do you, Andy? It's kind of not a thing.
it's good here. I'm vegetarian, so I don't eat fish. So.
Yeah. But you can have things like
Just have the
potato
chips,
cakes and chips and stuff like that, right?
No, look what
There's some
now look
decent
what Mr.
ones
Wiggins
around. I used to
posted.
do the newspaper thing and all that stuff. So I was a big fan when I was a kid. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, go play with your Timberwolves, as Mr. Wiggly said. And enjoy your curry or your fish and chips or whatever you're having. But make sure you press record if you're getting in front of the synthesizer. And no greasy fingers, okay? No greasy fingers, because that's just not going to go down well. Yeah, no greasy fingers. All right, guys. Any announcements before we wrap it up? Darren, you had an announcement on your Bandcamp. Do you want to quickly mention that?
Well, that's just something that's probably coming for anyone who's bought any of my albums or anything. It's something hopefully special. So those guys will be waiting and see you've seen it. So
Is it available now, Darren?
It's just for them. No, it'll be coming very soon. Hopefully, if all goes so well, you'll just get it. If not, I'll have to put it up for everyone.
It's a tease. His email is a
it's
tease.
cool.
Yeah.
No, it's not a tease. It's
looking
coming.
forward to
It's almost finished.
Yeah.
You'll love this. It's cool.
All right, good. Ian, give your shop a plug. Give your online store a plug.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
Sinners
absolutely.
Music Limited. Just type in Sinners
Second.
Music, you can find us. Most of us Sinners Music. Yeah, most of it is sold through Amazon, eBay, Reverb, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You got to make a quid somehow, don't you, mate? Hey?
Yeah. Actually, we've been pretty busy of late because actually we've done more since the beginning of September in terms of turnover than we did all of July and August.
That's good.
They're normally quiet months, but yeah, it's suddenly taken off again. So people are thinking we're selling lots of jingle sleigh bells for Christmas already. How do you work that one out?
People getting ready.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. All those lights that they put up, right, around their houses.
Yeah.
Oh, God. God help me. Yeah, not this house. It's not going to happen.
Well, actually,
the only lights are going to be
Jane does put some lights up.
The only lights are going to be in the studio.
Inside.
Some people here have them up all year. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Say goodbye to everyone.
Right.
Have a good week.
Take care, everyone.
See you next
See you
Saturday.
tomorrow.
Cheers. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
See you later.